they don't want it with me. You got a problem with me? Love, you don't want it with me. Man, you won't ever stop me. Who y'all really got a problem with? Who y'all really tryna solve it with? Who don't really like the sound of this? Who come with me getting down to this? You better step back, get your neck cracked, get laid down when you best step. Better check that with a fresh map, get lost now with no extract. Like look, that's all me. Got my number, don't call me. We eating up, that's all beef. You freezing up, that's y'all's team. Cause we don't really lose no more. All about heating up, leaving that cold. You can see beating up, killing that show. I ain't about giving up, no. Nah, cause they don't want it with me. Look, you got a problem with me. Look, cause y'all don't want it with me. If you start a fire with me, then you never gonna stop me. Ayy, sound the alarm. We about to go on. You getting it wrong. Time to go off. Can't hold us back. Truth hurts, you always that. My truth lurks, say y'all collapse. Now scoop first, where your homies at? Come my team with me right now. My team so mean right now. But what you mean y'all out? It's time to weed y'all out. Okay, we coming back with a vengeance. Time to go start your engines. What is this thing y'all mention? Time for y'all stop pretending, Nah, y'all can't do that. Where your crew at? Y'all can't do that. Nah, where your crew at? Nah, man, cause now you alone. Yeah, get out of my zone. Man, cause now you alone. Love, get out of my zone. Nah, cause they don't want it with me. Look, you got a problem with me. Look, cause y'all don't want it with me. If you start a fire with me, then you're never gonna stop me. Nah, cause they don't want it with me. Look, you got a problem with me. Look, cause y'all don't want it with me. If you start a fire with me,
want it, gotta own it. Fight through it, we was at the lowest. Blood, sweat, tears, the components. Riding all year, now's the moment. We are not friends, we are opponents. Yeah, I'm coming for mine. Yeah, I'm making a play, the game on the line. Yeah, I've been on the grind. Yeah, I jump in the spot, I made it my time. Yeah, look in the sky. Yeah, the stars align, no shade to shine. Can't stop it already, emotional work and devotion. We put in this time, look. You won't stop my stride. I'll just break your line. I don't tolerate wasted time. Take us down, keep fighting.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Monster Energy, and DHL.
Welcome to the Snapdragon Pro Series. We are back again with Europe and MENA for the challenge season. We are on day number 2, and for the next few hours, you're stuck with me and Ready Set. How are you feeling about today, Ready?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling great and energized, and especially after the last challenge day, it, I think, brought to light just how much some of these new competitors can bring and can upset some of the more studied competition here today.
I mean, you know, that first game week was absolutely explosive and so many upsets along the way. Let's just take a quick look at the format to see what we've got in the past and what we've got in the future and see what we have today as well. Ready, set, walk us through what we've got going on here.
Of course, leading up to where we are right now, which is the challenge, that's stage number 2, but let's flash back for just a moment to stage number 1. An open competition to make it to this stage. The top teams get to compete here in the challenge. After this, challenge finals, live at LAN, and finally Masters, where all players of all different regions get to compete against each other for the big prize money. But of course, we're in the challenge, and even in that open stage, we saw some kind of upsets leading up to yesterday. Most notably was Mystic taking down Tribe, and this was a big story headed into yesterday, and it's one that'll be carrying over into today because Mystic, they got yet another upset yesterday, and if they manage to get an upset today, that would be absolutely crazy for this region.
Yeah, we've got to keep an eye on Mystic for sure, but let's take a quick look at the prize pool that they're competing for in this challenge phase and the challenge finals heading forward onto that as well. It's $50,000 in total, $20,000 for first, $10,000 for second, $7,500 for third, $5,000 for fourth, and then $3,000, $2,000, $1,500, and $1,000 after that as well. So massive amounts. Even if you come last, you're still going to be guaranteed that $1,000, but we know everybody's striving for at least that top 4 to move on to the challenge finals, and definitely going for the $20,000 in first. Let's take a look at the up-to-date leaderboard after that first challenge week did come to a close. We saw some massive upsets. We also saw some unlikely teams rising to the top.
No doubt, Reply Totem, not necessarily the most surprising team to see up here in that top 4 because, of course, it's just top 4 and bottom 4 at the moment. We've only gotten through that first challenge day, but they were looking a little bit shaky recently, and to see them take a win over Tribe Gaming yesterday was definitely a good thing for them and for all the Totem fans out there. But a bit of a surprise in second place, Mystic Esports EU. In fact, today they'll be facing versus number 1, Reply Totem. This team, they got an upset in the challenge sort of season in that open finals leading up to today, and yet another upset yesterday. It was kind of crazy taking down Team Queso. We'll get to see both of those guys play today. SK Gaming and Navi also pulling out some good performances yesterday, and we'll see the scoreboard change up a little bit more as we get through the challenge season. We got 6 more days left. We get to see every single team play every other team.
Not too many storylines forming at the moment. We've seen the format, we've seen the prize pool and the leaderboard. What more to do other than look at today's schedule and see what amazing games we have lined up for you once more. 4 games today, and we'll be kicking things off strong with Team Queso versus SK Gaming, which is an absolutely brilliant one in my opinion. Craze against Panna or Cutes, if you want to call them that, in match number 2. Tribe Gaming versus Navi, a massive grudge match in match number 3. And then Totem versus Mystic Esports in match number 4 to finish things out around 10 p.m. CEST. I know what game I'm looking forward to the most out of today's matches. It's got to be Tribe versus Navi. You got any, opposing thoughts or a game that you think might be a little bit better?
This is true because Tribe versus Navi, this is a grudge match from those last monthly finals. Navi, they took second place. Tribe, they got first. These two teams have repeatedly made it to the grand finals in the monthly finals and then ended up taking it second place. So this is going to be an interesting one going into today, seeing if Navi has that kind of kryptonite to take them down. But as far as what I am most looking forward to, I think they've really saved the best for last today. Mystic, after their upset yesterday, is going to be facing Totem, and Totem for the last few months has really been respected as the #1 in the region, only recently being usurped from that throne. And it looked like just a couple days ago they were able to really come back and reclaim that, taking down Tribe Gaming. But now versus Mystic Esports, the ultimate upset could be in store for us at the end of the day, but we'll have to wait and see.
I do think you've got a very solid point there with Reply Totem against Mystic. It's really intriguing to see if Mystic are going to be able to carry on their run after a really good first week against Team Queso, defeating them 3-1. It's really intriguing to see if they are going to be able to continue that dominance throughout the rest of this challenge season with some more challenging opponents. But we do have to say, be sure to share your thoughts about today's games and previous games as well for a chance to be featured on stream with the hashtag Snapdragon Pro Series as well. And that is the best way to get involved on social medias. Give us your thoughts about the games and be sure to drop some stuff in Twitch chat as well to get involved also.
Yeah, that's right. We want to hear what you guys are saying, and also it's to give you guys a chance to, make some noise for your favorite teams, because really it's the fans and the viewers that make these live streams pop off and bring so much attention to what is just an awesome thing to behold. Players playing this game at just the maximum skill cap possible, and repeatedly we see, especially some of the competitors today, exploring what exactly is the maximum performance possible in Brawl Stars, and recently that has been Reply Totem, but now things have shaken up. Some teams have pulled ahead, and we'll see if any upsets happen today that reveal who is on top now in this region.
And also, you can do predictions in chat as well, but be sure to let us know on all social medias if you do want to. Also, we do have to give a big shout out, talking about the Snapdragon Pro Series, to Snapdragon Elite Gaming for being able to sponsor this event and make all of this possible. They've allowed me and Reddy to be sat here providing you with these games, but also ESL in the background being a huge sponsor for them to be able to put events like this on as well.
Yeah, I mean, once again, to reiterate, this is a fantastic thing that we're able to put on here with the help of Snapdragon Elite Gaming, bringing just the best of Brawl Stars players in this region all into one big stage to compete for a huge prize pool. Keep in mind, first place, it takes away $20,000, and the competition is seriously stiff here because second place, it takes home half of that, $10,000. That's still very, very respectable, but it's no $20,000. So once again, these players are working towards that ultimate prize. It's just day number 2 of 7, so lots more Brawl Stars ahead of us.
Yeah, well, we will be starting things off with Team Queso versus SK Gaming, and both of them will be striving towards that $20,000 towards the later phases. Let's take a look at the Team Queso roster. Team Queso really have been making waves in competitive at the moment, but not always for the right reasons. They have been taking quite a lot of losses. Tribe Gaming in those monthly finals just recently, then they lost against Mystic only on Tuesday in a 3-1 scoreline, which is a massive, massive upset against these players. They had some roster changes. Boss joined the roster, and they got rid of 2 players who we'll be seeing on Panna throughout this competition as well. But Ali SSJ, Boss, and Navi are the roster of Team Queso, and they've definitely had some problems. They need to bounce back soon enough, otherwise they're going to be written out of this competition really fast.
Yeah, and I like that you bring up that point that, despite the roster changes, they've still been finding some major struggles, and that's a tough pill to swallow, right? It's difficult to accept, and that's partly because it's the truth. These are some kind of growing pains, or maybe something else is going on, but the more likely possibility is just that with the roster changes, teammates just need a little bit more time to form those synergies and form those kind of partnerships and comms that we previously saw out of this team. But with the new addition of Boss, they've actually been looking very, very good. Just they did get taken down by Mystic yesterday, so hopefully they bring something new to the competition today that makes them a little bit more consistent than yesterday.
They're going to have to try something a bit different because it didn't really work out for them, and also they're against the massive giants in this competition of SK Gaming. Let's take a look at who they'll be bringing to the table today. three of the most household names in the Brawl Stars scene: Gie, VGX, iChaos, and Semantic. And always, you have to give a massive shout out to probably the most prominent coach in the game, Pedro Guajaro, helping out in all the background stuff. It really does assist SK Gaming, and you see it in their analytics. Some of the matchups they managed to get with the draft, it pays off a lot.
No doubt. I mean, Pedro's the guy who's got the spreadsheets on lock, and it pays off in a lot of ways. Just still, sometimes they do get a little bit outplayed, and we've seen that quite a bit recently, but only with some of the top competitors in the region. Tribe Gaming and Totem still are at the forefront of this competition, but SK had been leading the way. You know, if you asked me last year to make like a fantasy Brawl Stars league and who would be my top picks, I would definitely say these three in the EU region: Gie, iChaos, and Semantic. They're simply the best of the best, heading off of a amazing record last year, and coming into this year still facing some pretty steep competition, but pulling a lot of wins off as well.
Well, we've had a look at both rosters. Let's take a look at the head-to-head in statistics between these two teams, because I've got a feling it might be SK-sided, and if Team Queso do have better statistics, I'll be a little bit worried. But we do. The predictions were right by me. 2.86 to SK Gaming and 2.29 deaths per game. Whereas Team Queso is sitting there with a negative KD, and we say KD doesn't really matter too much in Brawl Stars, but when it's this negative, sometimes it does.
Yeah, and also we are pretty familiar with the kind of brawlers and the kind of strategies that Team Queso like to run. It's not like they have a heavy emphasis on tanks and just all this kind of aggression where you run in, and it doesn't matter really if your character gets taken down, you're still playing the objective. That's not really the case for Team Queso. They still play sort of control-based brawlers, and ending up with a negative KD is not a great look. In the head-to-head, SK Gaming still more damage per game on average, so by and large, SK Gaming just bringing out a more solid performance than Team Queso, but every team has off days and every team has really pop-off days, so for the sake of Team Queso, let's hope that they pop off.
And, you know, I hate to ask it, Reddy, but I'm siding with SK Gaming. You know, who do you think will come out on top of this one?
This one is definitely SK Gaming for me as well. SK, they're just an incredibly consistent roster, and even the consistency relies in which teams they have the most trouble against as well. Now, Team Queso is not in that number, unfortunately for Team Queso, but once again, I still believe in the possibility of an upset, especially heading off of a loss yesterday that can, or rather not yesterday, but a couple days ago. It can't feel nice for Team Queso. I imagine they probably have been keeping their heads down and practicing really, really hard for this matchup versus SK, but I'd still rate it as probably a 70-30 matchup in favor of SK.
I think so too, and you know, we've seen SK Gaming in game day number 1 take down what has been 50% of the Team Queso roster throughout the majority of this year in a 3-1 fashion, and it did look quite convincing. So I'm intrigued to see if, you know, arguably, according to Team Queso, the better half of that roster manages to put up a better fight against them, but at the same time, if anything, Panna have maybe been doing better than Team Queso in the majority of competitions. We saw Panna take down Team Queso shortly after that roster split in half in the Queso Cup. So you've got to be a little bit worried after last week's performance from both SK being very good and Team Queso being very bad.
Yeah, this is absolutely true. It does make me a little bit worried for them and maybe what lies ahead of them, especially with the World Finals on the way in just a little over a month here. But that does give them some time to, you know, sort of recoup, but it doesn't give them a break from the competition, right? We're right here in the Snapdragon Pro Series looking at what they are doing right now. And it will give us kind of a look into what they what they're working on, what they're kind of cooking up as more competitions are on the way. But still, there's money to be won here. There's fame and there's glory and once again prize money to be won, and there's a lot at stake. They gotta shape up here, but I'm not really sure what the solution could be.
Yeah, I mean, the solution's got to be something, and you know, it's got to be in the draft phase for Team Queso, because if they don't play well and they don't get the draft right, then surely they're just going to take maybe even a 3-0 loss against SK Gaming, because SK always seems to be on point with the mechanics. They rarely make mistakes. They play quite a passive playstyle, but as of recent, that aggressiveness has been coming out a little bit more to the forefront, as that seems to be the meta that people are needing to be adapting to, as, you know, Tribe have started to play more aggressive. Reply Totem were the real ones instigating this meta of the aggressiveness as they take down SK Gaming time and time again with it. But now SK Gaming definitely seem to be going a little bit more aggressive rather than their usual defensive play style. And, you know, that might shake things up just a little bit, as it's not something that they're 100% comfortable with just yet.
Yes, and we like character development, right? We like to see new strategies emerging and players working on new kind of strategies together as well. And if we kind of remember those stats that we saw in the head-to-head from Team Queso versus SK, Team Queso, they had a negative KD, okay? That can still allow you to win certain game modes like Hot Zone and Brawl Ball, for instance, where you just have all-out aggression. Heist is another fantastic example of that. And I think what that kind of reveals to us is that they have a more aggressive playstyle, which kind of plays right into SK's hand, where they really succeed, and they have built a reputation around just how strong of defensive players they are. So if Team Queso brings something different to the table, SK still has it on lock with the aggressive plays. It doesn't really seem like Team Queso are going to be able to make this happen in the mechanical department or in the strategic department. I agree with you. It's probably going to come down in a large way to the drafts.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be. It's really got to be for Team Queso because, as you said, I don't think the mechanics are, anywhere close to touching SK Gaming's mechanics on that side of things. But the draft is a huge part of Brawl Stars. Some would argue maybe 60-70% of games won are won in the draft period, if it's that much of a dominant draft. Yes, you can be a very, very solid player and be able to play your mechanics all day long, win your lanes no matter who's on it. But the draft overall decides the large amount of games in the competitive Brawl Stars scene, purely because if you're faced with, a 90-10 matchup, your mechanics aren't going to make up for at least, 40% of it and flip it to a 50-50.
Yeah, and I think like one brawler that we can use as a great example for this is something like Surge, where he starts off the game just incredibly slow and with super short range. And even in some matches in that last challenge day a couple days ago, we saw Surge picked, Surge played, and he didn't even get a single super for the entire game just because he was denied so hard. And it goes to show that if you pick the wrong brawler, you can end up doing absolutely nothing despite your best efforts, simply because the brawler matchup was the diff.
Yeah, it did seem that way. Beach Ball being our first map, though, between Team Queso and SK Gaming. We should be getting up started shortly, but picks and bans will be coming in first, bans being the first one of those. Beach Ball is a map that I have been loving recently. It kind of does make SK go aggressive. We saw it in the Brawl Stars Championship with those multi-finals against Craze, and it was one of the best games I've ever casted over. They were forced to go aggressive as, Gale, Bo, these kind of brawlers being banned out of the way, which you would usually allow them corner the ball and play that passive way. They were forced to play tanks, forced to play, max and make themselves go aggressive, which is something I love to see. And it's partially down to Beach Ball, but also the opposing team as well. If they can make these kind of bans, then SK Gaming are forced to play a meta that they don't want to play.
No doubt, just the terrain, just the geography of this map really does lend itself to allowing some of those tanks and mid-range brawlers to prevail, and it allows you to play some aggressive brawlers too. Just, once again, because of how the boxes and how those bushes are laid out, you can very, very quickly make your way to the enemy side, and every now and then it allows a brawler through, like BB, for instance. Now, is she going to appear today? I highly doubt it, but there are other tanks that, once again, it can make an appearance here, but it all lies in the draft. Who gets that first pick, and especially who gets the last pick? Something we've seen lately is that having the last pick seems to give you a pretty decent advantage just in those last monthly finals, or not the last monthly finals, but the month before last. Having that last pick was a 60% win rate, so a little 10% advantage there over your opponents having to pick that very first brawler, especially because it allows you to pick things that simply can't be countered because there's no picking beyond the last one.
Yeah, and it is quite decisive having that last pick, especially in certain modes, and I think Brawl Ball might be one of them. Looking towards some possible picks, though, you've got to look towards the Penny, which has been played a lot recently, the Ruffs, which makes the Penny be that brawler that it is because it's such a strong pick. You don't want to be using those sandbags, so Penny comes in and gets the damage done through those. Surge has been a massive one, as you mentioned just a little bit earlier, and it is very solid. Team Queso, they're banning out the tanks. They're going pretty much the complete opposite route of what I thought they would do with their bans, and I thought maybe playing with the tanks would be a better option for them, but Sam, Max, and Ash going to be banned out. SK Gaming going to ban out Janet, Penny, and Otis, with Ruffs, as I mentioned, being the first pick.
You mentioned Colonel Ruffs, and he's good here for a number of reasons. First of all, you can break open those walls to make some longer range possibilities very viable. I think especially for Team Queso here, they love to run the B, but they're going to have to break open a lot of walls to make it viable. That said, it can be a good, pretty much antithesis to some of those tanks, and since SK does have that last pick that's absolutely on their mind, you can also tell simply by the brawlers that they've banned out here. They're getting rid of Otis and Penny, and two tanks have been banned out by Team Queso, both teams are very aware of what they want to run and what the enemy wants to run as well. But it looks like SK might find a way to slip through the cracks anyway. Poco first pick for SK. They have one more pick as well. It could even be something that they decide to go for that just takes away a tank counter from the enemy. Something like Griff, for instance, which isn't picked out just yet and has been an extremely popular pick in this region throughout the last couple of months.
I think you might be onto something there. I think you kind of do have to look towards those tanks as well, though, but it is Griff. Nice shout from Reddy there. Very, very good prediction from you. And Griff is the second pick of SK Gaming. I was maybe questioning it because, you know, the synergy between these two brawlers isn't that good. Griff, you know, have to break, well, you don't have to, but usually you are going to be breaking up these walls, and Poco and possibly even a tank as their last pick aren't really in the best position at long range. But I see what they're doing. You know, they've kind of forced Team Queso to compensate for tanks because of this Poco, but also if they go heavy in tank counters, SK can just not pick a tank and go something that's going to dominate.
Yeah, and once again, there's still more counterplay for Team K. So here's the B, actually. That's going to be the synergy with Colonel Ruffs. And maybe they decide to go for one last tank counter. But the big thing is that they are going to have to play lane with one of these brawlers. And they're also going to have to be fairly good even when those walls aren't broken down. Gale is always going to be a possibility. Team Queso could also switch things up and decide, well, we're going to pick a tank here, but then that means that Gale can be picked by SK. Let's also remind ourselves that Daryl has not been banned or picked just yet. I could see this very much being one of the next few picks. There's the Gale from Team Queso. They are kind of fearful of what SK might be approaching them with because there's so many different brawlers that you could approach with here. Now, Sam and Ash are banned out. Those would probably be my first two picks for last pick here. But once again, Daryl, he's wide open, but you're going to be playing into a couple of tank counters, so it's going to be risky.
Yeah, they decided to go with Squeak. They don't really want to play a tank into this kind of heavy of a tank matchup, and I think the draft has pretty much gone as planned. They baited them into taking these tank counters, possibly even 3 of them, you know, with Ruffs being able to get those power-ups really nicely. And then they're just not going to take a tank. I don't think it's quite a smart strategy, especially when you're taking something like Squeak as their last pick. It should do well against Gale, should do well against Ruffs. B might have a bit of a good time against it, but the Poco's not going to have the best time against that either. But if it's focusing something else, then you are going to be able to collapse down on it quite quickly.
Yeah, and I think also this just goes to show how strong it is to have that last pick, because just the looming threat of being able to pick a tank can force your enemy's hand into picking a bunch of tank counters that they don't really want to go with. But along the way, Team Queso have managed to pick a pretty powerful duo. They have gotten Colonel Ruffs, and they have gotten B on the same team, and they really, really do love running this B. And these brawlers just have natural synergy around the left side. They already have the outrange versus Griff on the left side. It might end up working, though iChaos is on a tear on the right side. Javi taking major, major damage, being backed up already by iChaos right up to the goal. He does have a twister that he can use to block things off. He has a super as well, but he's going to end up getting taken down by Guille. Ball passed around the left side, and a team kill as well. Semantic gets to pass this one over to iChaos to slot it in, and some wall break to finish things off too.
I mean, this is the SK we know and love. Even with this map being broken up, they're still managing to do what needs to be done. Solid stuff from SK Gaming off the start, but Team Queso at the moment, not in the best of positions, and Javi's getting hit pretty hard straight away. Guille is looking to pinch in as well, and they get the pinch. Javi should go down. The super available from Chaos as well. It's a 2v2 situation, but the super does miss. Pass towards the right-hand side, though, and I'm seeing these launch pads, and surely that's got to be a mispick of the gadget.
It could be. It could also just be going for easy lane control, because Javi can get in close range versus iChaos, and simply pushing past that lane can be one of the most difficult things to face up versus in the Squeak matchup. Squeak, the reload speed and the length of that shot, they just line up perfectly to allow you to fire down one lane for the entire game and win it. Guille and iChaos get to team up on this back right side also to defend the ball. Now they're just going to slot it into the corner. This isn't Backyard Bowl, but it's not going to stop SK from playing defense for the remainder of the game. And wow, they are doing such an amazing job as well. Javi is still looking for some kind of control on the right side, but he's taking consistent damage from iChaos, even getting tapped up a little bit here and there. If he's able to make it to that jump pad, then he can absolutely get the victory on this lane. And he's still going to be trying to push forward, but ends up walking over 2 of those mines from the super and getting taken down.
I mean, this is common SK Brawl Ball, but I've got to respect the early aggression that they did get in an early goal. They earned being able to sit in this position without, cornering it and waiting for overtime. Super comes in from B and quickly negated by Guille VGX there with the nice gadget. Javi trying to go aggressive, but should be taken down, and he is quickly. Nice trade out there, though, and Semantic falls low. Super's not going to be connecting, but Boss is going to get a couple of shots in. 8 seconds on the clock, and Alias J accepts defeat. SK Gaming take game number 1.
Definitely some good ideas from Team Queso here in the draft and even in the game. I'm going to take the opposite approach. I think that the idea of the Gale launch pad was actually like fairly grounded in strategy and not just a mispick here. I think one big consideration is that he was going to try and consistently diff the lane versus Squeak, and it just ended up not happening. He's going to try it once again, try and get in close range for his IKOS. He ends up just getting double teamed on this right side. Ala SSJ tries also to get the victory over Semantic on the left, but Boss just isn't in range. Ala SSJ just doesn't have the cloud also to make that happen. Kie now can push forward. IKOS just baiting that launch pad a little bit for fun, it looks like, and keeping Javi locked down in his back right corner. Double tap there with the super as well. This could be a goal already for SK.
They collapse down once more. The shots are through, and I don't think they can get this anyway. The super's there. I mean, the gadget was there from Griff, and it was 100% going to be a goal for SK Gaming. Early goal once more with only 35 seconds off the clock. And it wouldn't surprise me if they just go for the corner strategy again, but they could have finished that previous game off faster, and they might opt to do that now instead.
Well, Team Queso need to be cautious about this because SK, they're already backing up. They have pushed them forward quite a bit so far. Javi now on the right side, once again trying to make this happen for his IKOS. 1-2 taps with the super and a final one from the main attack. Pass up to IKOS. He might be able to slot this around Boss. There's the super into the corner. It was perfectly broken open earlier by the Griff gadget, and now it's all coming full circle, all coming to fruition as well. Very well played, very well picked by SK as well. It really did, I think, come down to that draft to help them win this one, because in spite of having kind of a draft disadvantage by the end of things, Team Queso, they had some good ideas. I want to return back to the Gale launchpad. They really tried to do whatever they could to get a leg up in this situation, but in the end, I think even just the switching of the gadget is telling that they knew that they were outdrafted, and they were just trying to grip on whatever they could.
I mean, do we even see Team Queso move out of their half of the map during the entire set there? I just don't think we did, and Team Queso were being completely dominated throughout SK Gaming. And honestly, I think this is what we expected from SK. They played aggressive, they threw the ball in the corner in the first game, they played passive. Second game, they looked more confident. They knew they were going to be able to win it after that one, and the draft was definitely on their side as well. Certain things that SK did to just bait them into these positions, and Team Queso fell straight into the trap.
Well, I wonder if Team Queso will be able to replicate a similar situation in coming sets when they inevitably do get that last pick. Of course, it's a coin flip. It might not be this set. It might not be the next one as well. But if, you know, our coin flip does work out being totally random, then yes, they will probably end up getting that last pick. And how will they play it to their advantage? Will they attempt a similar strategy to SK, baiting out these tank counter picks and then just not even picking a tank themselves? I think that this was brilliantly done by SK. They got all kinds of tank counters lined up on the enemy side, and then they just went for the Squeak. And Squeak is a relatively easy brawler to counter. You literally just pick something that can hop on top of him and get in close range. Even an Edgar could probably take down a Squeak with relative ease. Maybe not the other brawlers on the field, but point, I think, has been received as well. Just wonderful last pick there from SK, and beautifully baited too. From the stats, it's not looking too much in favor of SK, except for the healing. It just shows that they were on the battlefield for longer.
I was going to say, I mean, just the healing comparison really shows how firmly in control SK were. It just seemed like Team Queso, when they got into the tough positions, they weren't healing, they were just going down and coming back through respawn, whereas SK, maybe we saw one or two brawlers drop throughout the entire set, and the rest of it was just pure control for them. Bans are in, and some picks actually for Layer Cake, which we are moving on to next. Stu, Gene, and Sam going to be banned out from Team Queso. SK going to get rid of Gene, Otis, and Janet. I think it's pretty clear that we were going to be seeing Team Queso with the first pick just because of the bans. Gus as first pick, and Piper to follow up nicely, which is quite a good counter to Gus at the moment.
Ooh, and also getting that B out of the way too. See, they have that last pick, so they know they have a huge advantage here if they can get rid of some of those primary tank counters early on. And even though on Layer Cake it's not like the most obvious thing, you could still make things work with, say, a Buzz. And this is why I think also that Sam has been banned by Team Queso, because they know that SK is going to try something with Sam here, and just all around, he's such a good brawler. He's almost impossible to defeat when he's healing up 30% of his missing health every time he picks up his Knuckle Busters. This is a super that he gets for free, and he gets it back for free when he walks over them as well. Just such a powerful ability that you cannot really beat no matter what sort of DPS you're running. Bonnie is going to be picked up on the side of Team K. So definitely a good control brawler. It can get in close range versus both B and Piper. B, she can try and block out some of that damage with her Honey Molasses, but it's not going to be able to block out too much. It's going to come down to movement in that situation. Also, Piper might be forced to run auto aimer instead of homemade recipe here, thanks to the looming threat of Bonnie jumping right on top of her.
I mean, you know, I honestly think homemade recipe might still be played. Bonnie, it's going to have a tough time. It's the same as Gus is against these longer range brawlers of B and Piper. They both kind of do counter at that range, but obviously when she gets aggressive, she can do quite a lot of work. But it's just a question of, you know, if not having a homemade recipe is worth the sacrifice of maybe going down once every game just because Bonnie's going to jump in on you. Penny going to be the last pick for Team Queso, and we're back to SK Gaming for their last pick. Now, as far as Penny goes, I don't mind it, but it's another brawler that is going to be outranged by the SK comp, and they might just add another sharpshooter on. They're going to go with Tick, which I do like. It's going to take down Penny's turret really nicely and not really be in harm's way too much.
Yeah, and it got a little chuckle out of me too because this is no shade on SK, but this is toxic right here. This is a toxic comp. They are completely outranging Team Queso, and I'm a little surprised that Team Queso are just cool with this. But let's consider that there's only really one wall break, maybe two if you really count Tick Super there, but there's one wall break on the entire map, and it's going to be Piper from the side of SK. So it's going to come down to Piper hitting those shots and then going for the wall break. If there's no wall break, right, and no bush break either in that same line of thought, then this could actually be pretty okay for Team Queso because they can use that speed gear to get effectively more range on their shots and play toe-to-toe at mid. iKaos is going to be using the speed gear, though, lining up that shot, getting a great first kill. He also has that blue star as well. Slow on the left side. Javi is going to get tagged up, not feeling too much of the heat, actually. Still competing very well versus Piper and pushing SK all the way back to their spawn. The entirety of Team Queso doing this, but they absolutely have to. They are at the star deficit, and SK get to start working their angle on defense.
They might not play too aggressive at the moment. They know they've got control, and they think they can do a late dive on SK Gaming and take the lead, which honestly wouldn't be too much of a bad thought process, to be fair. Javi's going to fall low, though. 3K is there from Chaos as well, with the big shot. Rattled Hive going to be popped once more, trying to flake some pressure. Doesn't make any connections, though, and Chaos still sitting with his 3K, but gets to splash directly on Semantics from AliSSJ shooting through him. Javi going to go in and get some shots forward, but not finishing off Semantic just yet. He has his jump, and Chaos misses the shot. Wow. They flip it, and the blue star's deciding it at the moment.
Beautifully done there. They had Javi get those entry frags as well, and since he has 7,000 health, SK Gaming, they have good damage at range, but they don't have spectacular DPS, and they don't really have those close range capabilities, and Team K, so they absolutely took advantage of this. This is a great team play, but now that they're back at mid, I think the advantage here goes back to SK because they get to force these long-range matchups. AliSSJ's left high and dry on that right side does end up getting tagged up by Semantic and taken down, but the advantage still lies in the hands of Team K, so they still can't afford to back up. There's a homemade recipe too. Boss is going to feel the heat as well. And now SK Gaming are in the lead. 15 seconds left. They don't plan on backing up. They have so much control here at mid, and that's where they're going to stay.
I mean, Chaos isn't going to be valuable to them. He's going to jump in on him anyway and connect a 3K shot when he does almost go down. Jump back now, though, and 3 seconds on the clock. They are quite a substantial lead ahead now in SK Gaming, regardless of going back and being in a deficit of stars for the majority of the game. They come out on top as Team Queso can't reset the reset of stars.
Good call, and good call to you, Trav, as well on the Bonnie thing, because Bonnie, she really only got one jump in that entire game, and yes, she got a kill, but she got killed in turn, so it wasn't really that great of a trade. I think it might have even been negative trade for Team Queso. That said, though, SK Gaming seemed to have found their groove as well, making sure that they keep the fight at mid for as long as possible. As soon as they backed up, they started to feel a lot of pressure from Team Queso because that range didn't really mean so much anymore, and Javi was able to get those entry frags once again on the Bonnie. He's going to try and do it once again, though. He does have a gadget, now pushing forward, getting targeted by Semantic. Semantic really just switching up who he's targeting, whether it's Boss, whether it's Javi, waiting for Boss to reveal his position and then line up the shots from there. It's working really well so far. He still has to be careful around those ghosts, though, because Boss can explode them to get the kill shot.
Yeah, it's going to put Rattled Hive, but in a tough position now. Not going to have Honey Molasses, obviously, because he's using that gadget. And he does go down. He's just going to survive. AliSSJ low. He might be taken down here. He is. And the stars still in favor of Team Queso, but SK Gaming starts to show some signs of a comeback. Javi going aggressive, though, and that's just almost flipped the stars. Blue Star deciding it as Boss gets another one for the side of Team Queso as well. But these stars are closing down, and SK are usually the ones who are stronger later on.
Brilliant call there, too, to throw the Gust Shield onto Javi. Rattled Hive is going to get so much value on him, too, keeping him from going super aggressive for the time being. But SK Gaming, for the most part, are now backed up into their spawn. Still large area opened up here on the left side. It can pose an advantage for Team Queso in a few ways, but it does keep them from going too aggressive because it leaves them way out in the open. Semantic is going to feel the heat, though. LSSJ now chasing him down, getting 1 kill. Now throwing down the Salty Barrel to tank the tick shot as well. Javi also with a kill onto iChaos. Team Queso is now firmly in the lead with 20 seconds left. Another Gust Shield headed over the way of Javi. He's going to get a free kill on iChaos as well. And Semantic's just out of range. Team Queso might have this one. 10 seconds left for SK to follow this up. Missed homemade recipe there as it flies right into that obstacle, and Team Queso are going to be taking this game.
Great little return there from Team Queso as SK Gaming look to be going 2 sets ahead. But Team Queso say no, they win this game of layer cake. They stayed a bit more composed, a little bit more careful in the mid area, not have Gus being too tapped, or the same with Penny over the right hand side. And Javi just genuinely went more aggressive on the B, and it paid off hugely.
That is absolutely true. We'll see how it works out once again for SK, both and Team Queso. Javi taking major damage on the left side, going to get hit by 1 shot from iChaos. It's not enough to take him down. Rattled Hive now coming out, trying to get some value onto Javi. Good takedown onto Boss by Semantic. Team Queso, for the first time, are backed up all the way into their own spawn. This is where SK possesses the ultimate advantage. We're going to have to see how Guille can lock down this lane. Boss is taking so much damage, now forced to retreat as well. Team Queso are seriously feeling it here. How did they so quickly get backed up into their spawn? LSSJ has nowhere to go in between the super from Tig and the gadget as well. Take down onto Javi again. Team Queso, they're trying whatever they can to push out, even if it means that they have to pick up a few casualties along the way, because they simply cannot fight when they're all the way backed up. They have pushed up to the next layer of this layer cake, but SK Gaming still possess the advantage as long as they don't back up too much.
Chaos now in a tough position, getting pinched in, but Semantic's going to try and assist him a little bit. He does go down, though, and that's 2 stars flipped in favor of Team Queso, but still a 5-star deficit and the blue star in the hands of SK as well. Good couple of taps from Semantic there, but in comes the jump from Chaos, and nobody's really helping him just yet. Javi's going to go down, and that's a negative trade. He's dropping 2 stars straight at SK's feet, and they're going to take advantage of that.
SSJ really unsure of his position here. Does want to circle around that right side. Doesn't want to get tagged up by Tick. Ends up walking into that next Tick mine and now is taken down by Guille VGX. iChaos around the left side, just trying to keep Javi at bay. He knows that this is the power player that could push things into mid and allow both Boss and SSJ to close around those corners, but there's not even enough time for that. It looks like 15 seconds left. It's absolutely go time for Team Queso. Got to see some plays right here and right now. Big damage in. Boss is going to live thanks to the Gust Shield. Javi closes around the corner. iChaos has the high-powered B. Boss trying to line up those shots. Is going to get the kill, but still just nowhere even close on the scoreline for Team Queso, and it's going to be another set headed the way of SK.
SK Gaming carrying on their dominance there as they take the second set and now only 1 away from sweeping Team Queso. And I can't say that I didn't expect this to be how the game went, because SK have just been looking so phenomenal recently, and Team Queso kind of the other side of the coin, being a little bit underwhelming. Not bad, but they're just not at their peak performance just at the moment, and that's worrying for them. You know, they want to go to the later stages of this competition. They've got World Finals soon. They're going to have to sort things out, and it might only be more and more frustrating. The more losses they take, the more frustrated they're going to be, and the more losses they're going to take, and it's just kind of advancing and tumbling into this awful position for them to be in.
It's not a comfortable position to be in. It's not a fantastic position to be in money-wise, prize money-wise, or performance-wise either, but I do think we've seen some good ideas from them too. We saw how they were able to get some pretty good value there with the strategy of Gus plus Bonnie, which at least I didn't see right there from the draft, and they were able to execute it very well a few times, but I'm not really sure what happened with them backing up so quickly in that third game, which gave a huge advantage to SK. It was pretty much chalked for the remainder of the game, no matter what Team Queso was able to pull out there. Even short of an amazing clutch, just would not have gotten them the win there. So maybe Bounty is not their forte, maybe Brawl Ball is not it either. It could be coming up in set number 3, but it's a little unlikely. Still though, for the sake of Team Queso and for the sake of the EU showing at the World Finals, we really hope that they got something huge to bring to the table in the next one.
It's got to be 3 in a row, and you've got to question whether that's even in Team Queso's vocabulary at this point, because against SK Gaming, it's not going to be an easy ride for them to win 3 sets in a row, whereas SK Gaming, they can quite simply do it, and they can close out right here in the third set. Team Queso just not looking that good, and there's definitely some issues with team play there. We saw some brawls going in one by one, and regardless of Javi getting the B kills sometimes, 3 out of 4 times it was traded out at a negative value for Team Queso.
This is true, right? And I guess you got to start somewhere, but this is Team Queso that we're talking about. This is like World Finals material that we're talking about, and that just can't really be happening, unfortunately. And it really can't be happening if you want to take a confident win. So far, we've seen them take a single game in this matchup, and once again, that's like somewhere to start, but it doesn't get you a set victory. We got to see 2 games within the set to get the victory, and we got to see 3 sets in a row won by them in order to get the match victory. Once again, a Gus first pick by Team Queso. And I wonder how they will line this one up. It actually, I think, is a pretty good idea because he does possess very long range, and also he can get some additional damage for some kill pickups on the enemy side, plus giving that shield to any of his teammates. But it's a little unclear from where we stand who had that first pick. It is going to end up being SK that got first pick. So finally, Team Queso, they have last pick. Let's see how they play it out.
I mean, Saystone is an SK map. You know, we were hoping that Team Queso maybe got one of their fortes, and even if they did now, SK is always going to be more dominant on this map just because of how good their playstyle is to be able to swap now between defensive and offensive, which is not only the name of the game in Heist, but also on Safe Zone. Defensive playstyle is the way to go, and only taking opportunities that arise for you is the way to go. I like Colette as their pick being first, but also Gus and Otis being 2 fairly new brawlers. A new brawler usually means they're pretty good.
Well, Griff and Piper now picked on the side of SK. Piper, always a fantastic option here, especially with Homemade Recipe, able to pick up long-range frags. Also, Griff, he can just break open one side of the map if he so desires, break open some key objectives as well. I'm not so sure about the Colt pick here. It is going to be good for getting damage on the enemy safe, but you had to make it there. You have to get within range to make that happen as well, and he does get outranged by Piper. The other thing is for Colt to even hit those shots, he has to be walking in a straight line, or at least strafing along with his enemy, which makes his movement very, very predictable and quite easy to hit, actually. There's a reason that we just don't ever see him in competitive, and I'm curious why Team Queso decide that, yeah, we're on the potentially very last set of this matchup versus none other than SK Gaming. This is when we play Colt.
Yeah, I mean, they're clearly just going for that breakthrough play that you're going to need with the gadget, but at the same time, whatever he can do, Griff can do better at this point, I feel. And, you know, he might have that early break, but at the same time, Chaos has got this early control, and Semantics assisted him flawlessly.
Well, we got to see how LSSJ plays this out. Semantic actually is going to get tapped up by LSSJ. Some shots being lined up on iChaos as well. Boss now gets to push up mid. Looks for a pinch on one of these lanes. It's going to end up being Colette for now. Gets seriously tapped up. Instant kill between Semantic and iChaos. Javi is left to fend for himself on that left side. Just trying to hang out in the bushes. Keep Guille at bay for as long as he can. Boss now approaching this mid matchup once again. He's slightly outranged by Semantic. As long as he can get Semantic to walk into him, he might be able to line those shots effectively. 1-2 shots. Homemade Recipe coming in as well. Semantic picks up the kill, but he's all out of gadgets now. How long will that sustain him in the later stages of the game? iChaos also getting hit here. Thanks to the shield, he's not taking seriously lethal damage. Now with the Gotcha Gadget activated, he hits one of those shots. Not any of the rest. Might be taken down by LSSJ on the right side, but still, Team Queso have yet to tap up SK Gaming safe. Thankfully, along the way, they've only taken 4% damage.
I mean, I can't let the fact that Chaos missed his super unsafe, and I believe both of the players as well, slide, because that was just not the best play whatsoever. But he is pretty much in a 50-50 on his lane at this moment. He's been dominating LSJ for the majority of it, and, you know, part of that is because Semantic's been doing such a good job through mid. With no homemade recipes left, though, it's going to make his life a lot harder through this mid against Boss. Yes, he might still outrange him, but hitting those shots is maybe a little bit more difficult than what it is for Boss. Fat splatter down the left-hand side for Javi, and that's pretty much just a lane that's gone unspoken this game, because not too much has happened other than just being a complete stalemate. Chaos got his super once more, and he hits a shot onto Boss in the mid, which does make him panic, and now Semantic starts to hit a few more shots as Boss doesn't seem to be in the best position, but LSSJ picks up the right-hand side, and Chaos can't put this super onto safe.
Wow, and LSSJ might be the key brawler to make this one happen for Team K. So now residing on 1 health, does need to back away. iChaos picks up the kill at long range thanks to his super. And Ella tries to line up these shots versus iChaos. He's going to have good dodges, especially in this 1v2. Chaos almost goes down. Boss might be able to pick it up. Semantic is tanking for him, though. 100 health remains on SK Gaming's save. And with the clock ticking down, LSSJ could make this happen. Here's a super coming in for the game-changing play. No, it's a 1% victory for SK.
Too early, or it was either too early or too late. I'm honestly not sure which one it was, to be honest, but he was a little bit too far away from safe, and I'm not sure if the timer cut him short or his clip cut him short. But SK Gaming come out on top, and they are 1 game away from taking this entire match now, and that has got to be a bitter taste in Team Queso's mouth.
It's definitely got to be upsetting to know that you played so well on the Colt for that last game, and at the last second just needed maybe even a millisecond difference in order to at least tie things up, and maybe a couple milliseconds to get the victory for yourself and your team. Still though, LSSJ is looking fairly solid on that right side, but iChaos is not about to make the same mistakes as he did at the beginning of the last game, and the same goes for GA VGX on the left side. It was relatively a stalemate for the entire last game, and now he's finally able to push through that lane versus Javi. Also, some damage finds its way onto that save. GA is actually prioritizing Javi on that lane, though, instead of going for safe damage. Really needs to play for control so the big damage dealers can come in and get the most of the work done, especially Semantic. He has to be lining up these shots versus Boss, but Paz is taking so much damage, tanking a lot as well. Does end up getting taken down to Javi also. Now, picking up that Ghost to heal up some fat splatter down. It's not going to get too much control either. Now, Brawlers circling back to their lanes. A nice visit from our friend, the disconnecting symbol as well. We'll check in just a moment still. But nonetheless, SK Gaming, they're looking pretty solid, but still Team Queso, they've looked relatively dominant with that Colette, or not the Colette, but the Colt so far, which is quite surprising.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they were able to do a pretty good right-hand side lane with the Colt, but wasn't able to get as much damage as he wanted in that first one. I'm sure we'll have this fixed just momentarily, but for now, we will update you the score when it does come through. Chaos was just doing such a good job over the right-hand side, and Semantic was just playing pretty much all 3 lanes because Boss wasn't posing too much of a threat.
Yeah, and that is unfortunate for TQ, but I still think that they had some good ideas here, and honestly, the mechanics really surprised me. My eyes were glued to that right lane for the entire last game, and can you really blame me? You just don't see Colt in competitive too much, at least, or at least you don't see him winning. But you pointed out, like, yeah, the breakthrough play is there, and I totally agree, right? We also see that Brock was banned out, so it's very understandable. Like, if you really want that, if you really want the free wall break with the gadget, there's like a second best option, but he's just not that great on the main attack. But still, LSSJ made it work, and he was lining up those shots pretty effectively, getting good dodges as well, and almost clutched up at that last game.
Almost did, but just I'm going to settle with maybe it was a little bit too early on the super rather than too late, because I couldn't tell whether it was the timer that cut him short, or was his clip that cut him short, or if he was too far away. It was kind of a bit of a up in the air to how good it was, but it was, you know, 96 to 97%, I believe, so a win for SK was on the cards. But they already, just in the first push, got more damage than in the previous entire game in the second.
This is absolutely true. I mean, at SK, they looked a lot cleaner in that next bit of the game. SK now taking the victory as well off screen, of course, and that being match point for them, it gets them the 3-0 versus Team K. So looks like Colt really wasn't the solution there, but especially in that last game, we saw SK prevail and pull through with the early push around that left side. It was no longer a stalemate. The Otis just was not enough to hold Gay in that last one.
Yeah, we do apologize for the lag and obviously the lack of gameplay in that final game, but SK taking the win nonetheless, and I think a lot of people would have probably predicted that regardless. Even without seeing that final game, they more than likely would have taken it. The ring controlled the map for the majority of it in that first one and the second one from what we saw as well. So SK Gaming going to take the first game in a 3-0 fashion, and Team Queso now going to be 0-2, whereas SK are 2-0. So definitely kind of different. It's night and day difference when it comes to their leaderboard outcomes.
Yeah, and we can take a look at some of the stats as well. Similar damage, in fact, Team Queso getting more damage on enemy players, and that kind of once again is a theme in Heist, where if you have good control of the map, then you'll be taking more damage, you'll be healing more as well, which is what exactly we see reflected in the stats. Just more kills for SK Gaming. They are taking down enemies faster, and they're also staying out of range when Team Queso gets them pretty low without giving up too much control. And that's also sort of the outrange meta that we saw with especially Semantic locking things down on Piper, just hitting so many shots. And Team Queso on the Gus, they were just a little bit short on that range too. We're not able to get the kill shots from there.
Yeah, it was a difficult game for Team Queso. I do genuinely think they had 3 pretty poor matchups across all 3 of the sets, but I don't think that's necessarily down to them getting the first pick quite often. I genuinely think that SK just put them in traps and executed the traps perfectly, and Team Queso just fell directly into them. And that's something that SK just do so well, and it's largely down to Pedro's ability to just analyze and do stuff so well, as well as Kiwi, their analyst. But also not just that, but the players having their own thought process along with it as well, and just bringing that to the table. And their years of experience, regardless of it being in draft or blind picks, they know what to take and what's good against what.
Yeah, and it's not even just about like what brawler is good, but what brawler am I good at, and what are the specialties of my teammates. So it's a lot of things in play. It's the spreadsheets at work, it's the statistics as well, and it's just the innate sense. It's the feeling, the intuition of, dude, I just got a real strong feeling that Colette is the move here, and it ended up working out. It ended up working for all of those picks as well, especially in the draft phase, as you pointed out, setting those traps, luring your enemy into picking certain brawlers that you're going to incredibly punish them for in the next stages of the draft. It's something that SK has excelled at, and it worked versus Team Queso, but Team Queso, they were looking a little bit shaky coming into this one, so I'm really curious to see how it performs versus some of the way more story teams in the competition, and we'll get to see that in later match days.
Well, they've taken down Team Queso and they've taken down Panna who were, 2 I believe all full Spanish teams, so Guille and Chaos clearly the 2 superior Spanish players, and with Semantic along with them, it's definitely something that adds up to greatness, because they are 2-0, Team Queso are 0-2. But we will have another incredible matchup shortly. We are going to throw to a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because we'll be back with some more great Brawl Stars.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Monster Energy, and DHL.
Oh dear. What is that design? Gold Arm Gulch? Yeah. Nice. Okay. That was a good one.
I always pick the last thing map. Minecart, Crystal, no, Crystal Arcade it is. Minecart, Double Swoosh, current maps, and I have literally lost my mind. Okay, whatever. Okay, let's go again with the same logic. I don't guess the map. I will guess the mode. I will guess it's either Bounty or Heist. The grass is kicking me off. The wall as well. I would say because of the wall, it would be more Bounty maybe. But at the same side, and the grass. But at the same side, such a big wall doesn't exist in Bounty. And every time so far, I guess Heist. So we stick to Heist. Okay, I'll go Heist. I'll go Heist. I know this one for sure, bro. This bottom left wall is also really annoying. Yes. What? True! True! That wall exists! I thought it goes more to the right.
Is that I think that's Kaboom Canyon. Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. I think it has like one on the, because I thought it was like the one on the side, in the, but the corner is a square, yeah. But I thought it was like a mix of the grass on the box. Nah, that was completely wrong. My bad.
Right. Yeah, this is a very, very tricky one. The grass, like it is a good hint, right? But yeah, main focus was obviously on the walls and how they're how they're structured, right? So I will have Golden Gulch as final answer. Look out.
Okay, stop. But I think it's wrong answer, but it's okay, try.
Golden Gulch. Knockout.
Welcome back to the Snapdragon Pro Series, where we are starting things off strong. Well, at least for SK Gaming at the end of the day. 3-0 against Team Queso, who are now 0-2 in comparison to SK Gaming's 2-0. What a wonderful start for them.
I mean, beautiful stuff there for SK. Like, 2 very solid games to start off the season is always just fantastic. It's going to put them at the top of the leaderboard as well, with one other team as well, because that's just how score lines work out too. But still not a fantastic start for Team Queso. They faced 2 very difficult teams to start. One of them being Mystic, actually, which was a bit of a surprise, but we'll catch up with them later in the day. We still have some other fantastic teams coming up. In fact, our second match of the day involves one of the teams that SK took down on that first match day.
Craze Clan versus Panna will be our next game up. Let's take a quick look at that Craze Clan roster. It really is more of the same with this kind of roster, very comparable to Team Queso, I feel, in terms of recent performances and obviously having that late season roster change that they did have Rama, Jiro and Navi 297, with Jiro being that new player that comes in, very similar to how Boss was on Team Queso, and it didn't really go too well. They have been taking loss after loss in this in recent Brawl Esports competitions.
And thankfully it didn't cost them their chance for going to the World Finals, though, because they were the last team to qualify. They just took that spot a couple of weeks ago, and now they're in the running for a whole lot of prize money there. But here at the Snapdragon Pro Series as well, they are in the game to win it. And with this roster, hopefully they're able to bring things back, because they did have a reputation at the beginning of the year for being some of the best drafters. It was their claim to fame. It brought them to amazing heights as well. But so far, has not been looking so great just in the last few months. Hopefully they're able to attain that former reputation pretty soon.
Well, we've gone over Craze Clan and their recent endeavors. Let's have a look at the Panna roster. Two-thirds of this roster were kind of what made Team Queso so strong in the first half of the year, and now they make up the FA Panna roster along with Jaime 16, Rafa, and Blacksea being those 2 players. They've really been doing pretty decent, able to qualify to this, not able to qualify to any monthlies, I don't believe, with this roster, but they're still extremely strong. Regardless of the scoreline against SK Gaming, losing a 3-1, it looked a lot better than that, I thought.
I thought it looked better as well, and still being able to take an entire set versus SK is nothing to sneeze at. That is a fantastic achievement, but it's still not a win, and that's what FA Panna are here for, and that's what they've shown us through those qualifiers, taking some wins, qualifying for this stage, and this is where they get to really show off their stuff. And versus this opponent of Craze, they might be able to take a win, because Craze, they're a fantastic team, but they're no SK, and they have had some troubles recently. It could pose sort of a hole in the defense for FA Panna to take advantage of, but Craze, they're just as hungry for their first victory in this competition as Panna is.
I mean, I think both of them have to be, because if you are starting things off 0 and 2, the likelihood of you going further and making those challenge finals become increasingly lower just by losing an extra game early on, especially if it's not against, you know, SK, Totem, Tribe, those kind of 3 solidified top teams in this region. If you're losing against others, your chances of making it further become very, very low, and I think that's something that both of these teams have got to be worried about, and just literally 1-1 sounds a lot better than being 0 and 2. Head-to-head matchups though, and Panna Fresh, they might have more kills, but they've got a lot more deaths.
Yeah, they do have a lot of deaths as well. And I think this also is revealing of just kind of their playstyle. They go for the aggressive brawlers, they stir things up on offense, they make it happen from there, because on the damage front, it's almost identical, just 500 damage there separating the two. And I think this is just a difference of playstyle. And it's going to give FA Panna Fresh an advantage if they have that last pick, because it'll allow them to pick more risky things and avoid getting punished. Craze Clan, on the other hand, if they end up getting that last pick, it denies that advantage to Panna Fresh. Of course, we'll have to see whether they take this kind of angle as well. It could just work out that so far in the competition, they've gotten mostly last picks. They've gone for mostly aggressive stuff with tanks, and that is why they have a lot of deaths racked up on the scoreboard so far. We'll have to see, because as the competition goes forward, those things will even out. It'll be curious to see if this continues.
And I think you've got to look just around the draft as well, just at the team they are. And, you know, they're not a team who have made it to World Finals. They're not a team who have been consistently incredible throughout their period as a roster together. And maybe they are just that team who takes these very aggressive brawls and just runs at their opponents and hopes for the best. Maybe they accept they are the underdogs in the majority of matchups and just go for it. And I think that's the best game plan, you know, an underdog team can have. But I think today, they're not really the underdogs. I would definitely pin this down at a 50-50, and I think it's hard to say who's going to come out on top of this one.
This is true. I would kind of rate it as a 50-50 as well, because we've seen Panna Fresh do fantastic things. In Craze, they're qualified for Worlds, right? That's a fantastic achievement for them. We also saw them last season here in SPS doing some cool things too. The problem was that they didn't do so fairly well that last season, and now with the roster change, it hasn't been this sort of like a dream come true that maybe another roster addition might have had, right? There's no Joker addition to the roster or something like that, but those are kind of the unicorns. Those are the far and few, or few and far in between sort of ideals, and not a lot of things can live up to that. I'm curious to see, maybe it's like a latent revival of the team. We're going to be getting into the match very shortly and seeing what the respective performances of these teams look like stacked up against each other.
Well, Deep Diner is going to be the map that things kick off on between these two teams. Bans are in from both as well. We've got the Ruffs, Otis, and Janet bans from Craze Clan. And Panna Fresh have got rid of the Otis, Crow, and Griff from their side. Stubby in the first pick, I think it's pretty solid. You got the speed zone, and obviously with Griff being banned out by themselves, the walls aren't really going to be going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, still, plenty of counters to go for with this brawler. Deep Diner is always going to be a great place for Stu to exist, because, as you mentioned, can break open some of those walls, can instantly counter out some things that Craze Clan might be thinking of for their last pick. Here's the Penny as well, going to be taking advantage of those walls, can get some good value versus some of the most valuable brawlers here that they have banned out. Colonel Ruffs, it's one of the main brawlers that Penny counters out, but I think maybe more of the idea is to go for control with that turret and also just have great close range capabilities when it comes down to getting up close and personal in those lanes. Here's Lola as well, just going to be a good all-around brawler. I'm curious to see where she fits in here though, because she is going to rely on walls being broken open on those lanes to find too much value. It could actually be a mid pick up here, but I would say that's almost quite unlikely. Here's a bow on the enemy side though, and Panna Fresh, I think they know what they're up to. They're trying to sort of prey on Craze's downfall here, anticipate that Craze will make some mistakes, and try and get in their heads from there.
Yeah, I do think pretty much the same, and Carl being the last pick off Panna Fresh, Craze having the final pick does give them maybe that little bit more of an advantage. I think, you know, the possibility of a Surge or something like that being picked in might be quite strong, just purely because of that Carl pick being Panna Fresh's last. However, I do like Carl, and if you get the matchups right, if you throw it against the Lola on the lane, or even if Penny's playing the lane, it could do well.
Well, still a last pick for Craze. They don't really have that Barley possibility that we see so popular on this map. They're actually going to go for Buzz, actually. And this, I think, makes a little bit of sense. They know that the walls could be broken open. They could be outranged in some regards. It's going to be a massive counter to Karl in close range, but this just means that now Karl's going to be operating at long range, and he's totally fine doing that. He's just going to have to find some way out of Buzz grappling him even at long range. And even Bo is pretty susceptible to this. It's going to mean that Panna has to be extremely cautious about which walls they break open, because it could open the gates for Buzz to grapple right through that open area and get a stun and make away with all those gems.
Yeah, but do you not also think that Surge would have probably been a better pick? Yes, it's able to deal with Karl nicely. It doesn't have to really think about the wards going down, because it can still be capable once that initial power-up's been got. It shouldn't be too hard to get the power-up on this map. I just think it would have been a much better pick.
I do wonder about Surge a little bit. I think it would have encouraged very rapid wall breaks from Jaime over here. We haven't really seen him break open anything just yet. Haven't seen a speed zone drop down either, so it's a strong likelihood that he is going to be breaking open some walls sometime pretty soon here. Now just trying to stay out of range of Navi. There's a wall break too to get himself a little bit more room on this left side, make it a little less possible for Buzz to push through. And it looks like Jiro and Ram are really targeting this left side, but it's not getting them too much value. And the mid Lola is picking up a good amount of gems so far and getting a decent amount of control, but still, it's going to come down to Blacksea on the right side, trying to defend versus now. It's not working out so far. 6 gems already for Craze Clan. It looks like the Buzz is working pretty okay.
Looks to be going pretty well, and that Penny Mortar has been established by Jiro now as well, and 7 gems in the hands of Rama, 1 in the hands of Navi, makes it 8 in total, and only 2 on the side of Panna, which is just a little bit worrying for them. Make it 9 now as another one spawns on their side, and Rafa trying to make something happen, and Navi's he's not going to be too cautious about this 1 gem, as it's not going to be game-changing at the moment, and a play from his super might be.
Jiro still looking for some value on the right side, has to keep Jaime back. Good takedown from Blacksea on the left side. Rama's not going to be able to pick up the kill. Got to go for a pinch with Jiro. Jiro is feeling a lot of the heat. He's going to be able to pick up a gem. He does be forced to walk forward. Does have that first gem, and Jaime's not able to get in range. He is going to get the takedown onto Navi, but no Cigar there as Rama gets that final takedown. Just a few seconds left for Rafa to fire away, but he can't get in range. Blacksea doesn't have a gadget in either. Just nothing really to disturb Craze Clan here on their defense, and they are going to take game number 1.
Craze Clan definitely looking good off the start then, as maybe my doubts of their comp were a little bit too over-exaggerated, and the Buzz working pretty well in the long term and short term as well. It started off strong also. But I must say, you know, I do like that Lola in the mid. I think it's got some great ability to tank a lot of the shots with that freeze frame and ego, but also Jiro over the left-hand lane. When he established that mortar, everything seemed to crumble for the side of Panna.
This is true, and oftentimes what we see is the approach to playing into Penny Mortar is just ignore it, but it looks like that just was not enough. It made it a lot easier for Rama to line up the shots as well, though an early takedown is going to be looking pretty good for Panna around that right side, but the turret is already up. Blacksea's targeting it really hard. Doesn't even focus down Rama. Now that he's out of range of that turret, he will get some damage onto Rama, but no kill there, and he ends up getting traded out himself. Jaime now rotating over the right. Now he immediately lane switches over to the left. Now he's just going to be avoiding Stu at all costs and trying to get on top of Karl at any possible cost. And he's going to be immediately shifting over to that right lane as well, though the mines are going to fall on the left side. This is going to be a major issue for Jiro because he's going to lose some of his walls. He's also going to be losing some control around here. Decides actually not to bait them out just yet. Anticipates the lane switch, and Jaime's left over here on the right side. Buzz still does grapple over, but now he's avoiding him as much as he can. Has those 4 gems. Jiro now coming to the rescue, defending him too. Rama gets taken down on the backlines, but Blacksea has no escape plan. There's the final kill for Navi. 10 gems for him.
I mean, Craze just looked so confident in the fact that they were going to be able to pick Blacksea up when he was trying to return to his own spawn, and it's looking great for Craze Clan once more. Shots coming through from Rama, a little ego pops as well with the freeze frame. Rafa falls low. Jaime trying to push around the left-hand side, and now he's actually got no range to try and get around this. He doesn't manage to get the takedown, but Jaime only picks up 8. There's going to be more laying in mid, and now Panna are the ones in a strong position.
It buys a little bit of time for Craze Clan to move forward, but even with the takedown just a moment ago, still not going to be enough to allow them to push forward. Jaime's hanging on to all 10 of those gems. There's a minefield on the left. He could seek refuge there. Push forward from Navi. Jaime's going to try and escape around this left side. Everyone's closing in, but the DPS is just not there. The dodges are as well. The fancy footwork pays off, and FA Panna are able to take this one back just from the clutches of defeat.
I mean, Craze were looking like they were going to close out the set, never mind the game, but now Panna Fresh. Now bring it back to 1-1, and it's even Stevens now. Whoever takes this game is going to take the first set and a lot of momentum with it. However, I just can't really vote against Craze at this point. They might have lost a little bit of touch towards the end of the game, but during the entirety of it, they were still looking confident.
And watch how they were able to push into the enemy spawn, and it really just came down to Jaime surviving for a few seconds there that was able to get the victory for Panna Fresh. It didn't feel confident from them. Navi, though, maybe even getting a little overconfident, pushing in, getting taken down some walls. You're going to have to fall for Rama, which is unfortunate for him. He loses so much of the speed he was getting from that speed gear. There's one more mine left. Now he's like trying to bait it out, but can't quite get it just yet. There it is. He is able to avoid it too. And he's on the lane versus Stu. It's getting pinched between Rafa and Jaime. Great look for Panna Fresh so far. Craze Clan have to keep on focusing on rotating Navi over to whatever lane Stu is not on, and there's some predictive mind games right there as Jaime switches over to the left. Navi now kind of circles in from the right. Blacksea will be able to pick up these gems, but he's not the ideal brawler to be carrying them because it means that he cannot really play too aggressive anymore. In fact, Rama is getting so much damage on him, he's going to be out of commission for a bit.
Yeah, has to go back and heal up now, but more mines over the left-hand side. Kind of take Jiro out of the mix for a little bit of a while. Now they're swapping over once more. Now he has the super, looking towards Blacksea, and he does get the stun onto him as well. Can he get out? He can't. Rafa shuts him down. And Jaime now 1v2, and that's going to force Panna Fresh to pretty much take a 1v2 engagement on two fronts there, and they lose both of them, making it now Craze 1 gem away from starting that countdown.
Big super in from Blacksea. It is going to get 1 kill, almost 2. Rama ends up getting taken down. No way! Panna Fresh is able to do this again. Blacksea now with 9 gems, and there's that final gadget away. Craze Clan, they cannot let this happen once again, and Rama's going to be tripping up these mines. Easy kills for Jaime and the team as well. Rafa almost taken down as well. Jiro needs some penetrating damage to get onto it, but it just won't be possible. Panna Fresh, they take it out from behind once again.
I mean, Crazy Club, they looked good throughout all 3 games and more than likely should have won all of them. But Panna Fresh, I mean, you can't let mistakes like that happen on the side of Craze. You're professional players, you go into World Finals, you're in a competition like the Snapdragon Pro Series. You can't make those mistakes twice in a row, and you're going to get punished by it. When players are on the caliber of the Panna Fresh roster, the punishment's going to be there, and it was.
It absolutely was, and that really kind of hurt to watch as well because we saw Craze take 2-3 very confident games in a row, only for the last few seconds of the game number 2 and game number 3 to fall into the clutches of Panna Fresh. This was game number 2. Jaime picking up all those gems, returning all the way back. Rama and Jiro were really feeling the heat as well. They just didn't have any counterplay for that Carl super, at least not in their hand. They had Buzz, but they did not have the super. They seemed to really think that they would be able to survive that or something like that, but they just weren't far enough away on that range. And you can see, look how many gems were picked up by Panna Fresh. It goes to show that, you know, a lot of these gems, they were picked up during the game, end up getting lost, and then they pick up 10 gems at the end of the game. So a clean 20 of those gems, a nice 33% of those were taken just in those comebacks in the end. And the damage really paid off for FA Panna Fresh as well. They got it when it mattered the most, and they were able to close in their enemies right on their backlines. It might just be a playstyle difference. Craze Clan, they're willing to take risks to pick up that last gem, and in the end, they end up taking the biggest risk of all and losing all of them.
Yeah, Craze really just not on point when it came to, you know, covering themselves for that big turnaround at the end. They were retreating to spawn very quickly and quite often, maybe in the last game especially, overstaying the welcome near the gem spawner. And, you know, when Carl has that flying hook, you always have to be on edge, and they just weren't. Golden Gulch is going to be the second map, though, and it is going to be Knockout, Max, Otis, and Gene bans from the side of Craze, and Panna Fresh is going to get rid of Penny, Janet, and Belle. We're going to have a 6-ban game by the looks of things, with Bonnie as the first pick from Craze.
We might even see some counters to Bonnie arriving. Of course, with the ban of Otis, it's going to be a little bit less possible. As much of a counter as he can be to Bonnie. Really, the most valuable first picks here are going to be the ones that are difficult to counter out, and Janet is absolutely one of them, so a good call by Panna Fresh. It is more likely than not that there's just simply not really that much of a response to Bonnie besides something that has longer range than her. And here comes the Piper. It's always going to be very solid here. Another pick possible for Panna Fresh that they can go for. And they also have to be mindful that they do have that last pick so they can keep things open for themselves. We saw just how valuable the movement, that mobility could be towards the end of the game, so they could go for something like that. Carl is always going to be on the table. He just could get outranged, but they've already afforded themselves one brawler with decent range, so they might be clear from there.
And that they are. Rico going to be up next from the side of Panna. Has that bounce castle when the Bonnie does come aggressive, but also at the same time, it's not going to really leave you with much time when the Bonnie jumps in and deals the burst damage that she can provide. A bounce castle's not going to keep you alive in that kind of circumstance, especially if she tanks a lot of that first initial shot. It's definitely something to be worried about. I do like Rico here, though. I think Golem Gulch is pretty much the Rico map on in the competitive rotation at the moment. But still, I think you've got to be cautious, and it is a second pick, can be countered quite easily.
This is true. There are abundant ways, and already another counter coming out here is going to be Fang. Now, Fang, he is not able to ricochet his shots around or anything like that, and he could get pinched off by Rico if he's not careful, but once he gets that super, it could pretty much end up being a free kill, and with Colonel Ruffs breaking open the walls, it's just going to be that much of counterplay. This is a fantastic response, I think, or fantastic, if you will, from the Craze clan, because they're not only going to be breaking open those walls, but countering out two of the enemy brawlers. Gale is the last pick, too. It's going to counter out Fang, and not much else, unfortunately, especially if those sandbags come up. It counters out Rico, it counters out Piper, and it counters out Gale. It's not easy to fire through those. I think that overall, this is a game that Craze can lead confidently with in the draft, but Panna, there's still outplay potential. If they play into the walls being broken open, then Piper can find some good value from there.
I think so too, but you know, I think at the end of the day, me shaking my head at that pun was the more prominent storyline, because that was just genuinely terrible already, so I'm not going to lie to you. but I kind of like what Panna have brought to the table here with the Gale, you know, going to be quite good against the Fang, because we saw it in a few other regions where Fang is played just incredibly here, and you've always got to be on edge when it does, when it is a thing. And we might see Jaime playing Auto Aimer, we might see him playing Homemade Recipe, we'll see in just a second. But what a great start for Jaime there, hitting 2 consecutive taps on the roughs, and the sandbags didn't make any difference. But in comes Navi, the stun's there as well. Can they get any trading shots? Jaime jumping directly up in the air, jumping from Rama, and this matchup's just turned completely on its head.
Blacksea's still alive on the right side, though. Does have a good amount of health. Does maybe have a super in hand very soon. He just has to connect those shots, but really the shots, or rather the angles are not really playing to his advantage at the moment. Rama and Naui are making sure that they are in very difficult positions to remove. Rama, he's probably going to go for the super here. Blacksea also getting taken down immediately by Naui. Looks like he got a little bit impatient there. He didn't want to wait around any longer with that super. It would have been ideal for him to have it for this next round, but it's much better to not risk Rico already having a super for the next game. Does look like he was able to acquire in the last few seconds there, so not all lost for Panna. Now he still has gotten his super back, so that's fantastic for him. We'll see if he's able to get in close range versus Jaime. That would be a great way to start off this game.
Really would. Blacksea throws that super, and really to no avail, as he doesn't get any damage at all, never mind any hits whatsoever. Rafa has the super, though, and he has obviously that defensive measure for when the Fang comes in, but he's got to stay with his team, or they can still be punished just because he's kind of out of the way. Homemade Recipe comes in from Jaime and connects a shot onto Naui there, who doesn't really do too much about it, just heals up on the spot and doesn't really have to move, as Jaime can't connect anymore.
Rafa still on the right side, lurking as much as he can. Jiro's going to be forcing him out with those ricocheted shots, which are very difficult to avoid. Everyone backed up in these bushes on the right side. Blacksea getting taken down. Rafa picks up a kill of his own. It is a 2v2, but now with the sandbags going down, there's just not really much counterplay for Panna. They can still try and fire through them. There is the gadget coming down as well. Rama's trapped right next to the poison. In fact, he's going to be locked out, but Jaime still gets taken down as Jiro comes back through the corner, and it's going to be a 2-0 win on the rounds for this game of Knockout.
Great stuff from Craze Clan there then. Definitely a bit more in the forefront of the gameplay in comparison to anything else. I think, you know, Craze in the first set, they looked incredibly strong. But I also think in this one, they look just as strong, but don't really have anything to be scared of from the Panna to turn it around.
Well, Craze Clan once again pushing around this left side. Blacksea also defending that left side pretty effectively. Now he's still looking for some kind of angle to push Rafa forwards. Now Jiro doesn't really have any angle to hit him with those ricocheted shots. Rafa.
It is going to be some big damage coming through, and not able to do too much. Jump up in the air from Jaime then, and shots don't really follow up from anybody else, and Craze in an increasingly good position now. Rafa with that Gale super, and Blacksea not got a super to his name, and Craze, they're looking pretty good once more.
Now he's still looking for some value around this left side. He does have that super active. Could go for the kill on Rafa. Rafa not going to be able to fire off anything in time. Actually did try to go for that super, but even with the gadget wouldn't have been able to stop that. Craze Clan do take the very first round. Panda Fresh now have to fire back, but Craze Clan have looked so dominant throughout the set so far. 3-round victories in a row. Jaime and Rafa now approach down this right side too. Flaxy looking for some value, but with all the walls missing, he's going to be missing a lot of that value too. Jiro has to also make sure he doesn't get trapped on this right side. Big super in from Navi. Another one from Rafa just for that confirmation. 1-2 kills for Craze Clan. Jaime tries to super away, but he might get caught up by Jiro on this top side. Still some good value and some final shots thrown out, but no escape plan versus that. And Craze Clan take an extremely dominant set.
Yeah, Craze Clan definitely looking extremely good in those few seconds towards the end there, and all the way through the past couple of sets as well. But Panna Fresh had some huge turnarounds in the first, and in the second, it wasn't more of the same. They just looked so much more in control and only had maybe a couple casualties throughout the entire 4 rounds. And Panna Fresh just not looking good at all. They just did not have the same turnaround capabilities and played pretty similar Brawl Stars, so the turnarounds just could not be there.
And we saw Jaime really trying to make that last stand here too. Jiro was here for the pin from the top side. Some solid shots lined up there at the end, not gonna lie, but it was a no escape plan. And here in the stats, you can see just how dominant this was for Craze Clan as well. More healing there, and in Knockout, that means absolutely everything because, well, every single life is final. There's no respawning or anything like that. Having the healing means that you had more sustain, more control on that map, more damage overall, and more supers popped off. There's no doubting whether you are looking at the gameplay, whether you're looking at the actual stats. This one was just a runaway victory for Craze Clan.
Yeah, Craze Clan definitely looking more in control of this one, regardless, as you said, of the statistics. They're having pretty similar damage and not that much in terms of deficit of heals. They were always in control. There weren't any moments where Panna Fresh really looked to me like they were going to be able to win games, even when it came down to the wire in the last few seconds and the gas was closing in. It was a piper. You might have Gale there as well, but also the brawlers on the side of Craze Clan have the sandbags when they get stunned. They're able to just tank a lot of the damage that a Gale will be able to output, and then it's just not a position that they were able to win. In Craze Clan, evening things out now. Panna Fresh probably a little bit worried after that and the first set combined. Julian Beatles is going to be the map up next on Hot Zone, and bans should be coming in shortly.
And we see the Sprout ban as well. It's pretty indicative that they do have that first pick, and they don't want it picked on the enemy side. Some solid first picks banned out by Craze Clan as well. And here it is, that very first pick of Belle, actually, which is not really the ideal of, maybe not the ideal first pick. She's not a fantastic brawler, besides maybe her range and her ability to deny some tanks at some points. But by and large, on Dueling Beetles, you're just going to be running out of spawn, dying. Who really cares? As long as you get that control at mid, or as long as you farm up those points at mid. I'm not really sure why. Maybe some people disagree on the Belle pick first, but it does look like some of the more popular first pick options were banned out by Craze Clan, so we can give them some credit there.
Yep, well, credit where credit's due. Belle and Stu being the first 2 picks from these opposing teams, and I do kind of like maybe Stu just that little bit more. It's the speed zone, I think, is just always going to be really influential, and especially when brawlers like Belle are being picked, you're going to have the sharpshooters shooting at range, but with the mobility that Stu does kind of bring to the table, not only for him but for the entirety of his team if he's not using breakthrough, it's a great pick. Otis to add to that as well. Good DPS, got the ability to mute, and also at the same time, some very solid range to be able to compete with the sharpshooters when getting in range is a great ability to have also.
And the follow-up of Bonnie as well can get in close range versus some brawlers, but I'm not really sure which brawlers you want to get in close range of on the enemy team so far. It could be a denial of some possible other picks. Squeak is absolutely on the table as a viable pick here. There's a Poco as well, and he's going to be the one walking all over the point and trying to survive as long as possible, so it's likely we see Belle and Bonnie closing in from either side the entire time. It's just going to be tricky because there's not really much they have for Stu here, because Stu, he's just going to be dipping on the point, getting a shot, maybe getting some good dodges as well, and then popping off as well. There's not much he can do to dodge out Poco's attack besides stay out of range, which is probably going to be quite a bit of a challenge, and it'll come down to how Craze reacts to determine its effectiveness. And there's the Carl for that very last pick as well. Going to be pretty much free kills versus Poco, and even versus Bell if he gadgets in and then pops off that super. Panna Fresh, they can maybe do something with Bonnie here as well, but I think that overall, this is looking like a more consistent draft from Craze Clan. We're seeing some of the more powerful brawlers in the meta appearing here, and also just some of the specifically most powerful brawlers on this map. For Dueling Beetles appearing on Craze Clan's side, not really much of the same for Panna Fresh.
Yeah, and you know, you said it's going to be hard to dodge these Poco attacks. So they just take Carl, and they're just going to go flying hook straight to his face and try to deal with him that way, and I think it's quite a smart plan by Craze. And as you said, you know, I think they've maybe got that little bit more of a versatile comp, but at the same time, I think Panna Fresh just have this kind of, this ability that they're going to be able to pop off if they can maintain the kind of zone, which clearly they're not going to be able to. If they had zone, they could definitely hold on to it against this comp that Craze kind of brought to the table. But it's going to be the complete opposite side of the story when Craze get a hold of it, because they have this mute, and Rama's kind of over-aggressed there, so maybe not able to hold on to it. Fat Splatter plays down aggressive by Jiro, and they're instantly getting pushed off, but in comes Navi. Great stuff from him. Going to have the protective pirouette as well. Blacksy's at a really short amount of range in that form at the moment. He gets taken down, and Craze lead is starting to lengthen.
Great plays for Navi, because as soon as Bonnie jumped away, he said, okay, next target, immediately onto Rafa, and somehow he just had the firepower to take him down as well. But it's clear that Navi isn't really needed here to take down Poco. Rama can handle it just fine in combination with Jiro. Now he picks up another kill around that left side, and this is just so dominant for Craze Clan. The Carl meta never really passed us by. He still drives the pick phase for this game in a huge way, even pushing it on that left side. Does have to abandon ship, actually, with the heal up from Rafa. He wasn't going to have enough sustain to get versus him in that last few moments, but it's more about keeping the fight on the enemy side and away from the zone than it is about anything else. It's such a dominant game there for Craze Clan, and hey, maybe that very first set was just a bit of a miss there for Craze Clan, because they looked so dominant throughout the games and only got taken back in the end, and now they're on a streak of 3 games in a row, and each one of them seems to be picture perfect.
I mean, Craze are just appearing to be the superior team, pretty much just as you have mentioned there. They made some mistakes in the first, they've learned from them, and now they're coming time and time again with some of the best Brawl styles they've probably played all year long. Against a team like Panna Fresh, that is the kind of gameplay that you require. Rafa falling low, though, and a nice pinch in will finish him off. Navi and Rama with that pinch that was mentioned. They are going to shortly take the lead here, and still, the same story as the first game, they're in control. But Rama may over-aggress here a little bit onto Jaime. It luckily burned him up, which should keep him out of the action for just a little bit longer. Now we're having to protective pirouette back a little bit and then re-engage as Blacksy had that jump.
Well, Craze Clan still has the lead, but that could go shortly. Blacksy does get taken down. Rafa and Jaime both doing so much work on that left side. The takedown of Jiro, but Rama gets that long-range kill. Now we're trying to line up these shots. Jaime getting taken down in close range, but still, Rama feels the heat along the way. Jiro has to be careful also of these nest eggs. He doesn't know exactly where they are, except for some good callouts from his teammates, and is carefully avoiding them as well. Rama also taking major damage, healing up a lot as well, but it looks like this mid-control might go back to FA Panna Fresh. They're getting so many shots off here with Poco. Even the tuning fork comes in. It is his last gadget, so hopefully it lasts him for a while. Another super in from Navi. We're going to get big damage on Rafa, but no kill either, and Rafa gets the super along the way. Jiro tries to get the silence. It doesn't hit, and Jaime picks up the kill too. And FA Panna Fresh have a nice lead here now.
Yeah, some good control and a good lead as well, but now he has this protective pirouette, chooses to go in, but that should be a takedown for Rafa, and he doesn't have the ammo in time. This could be a massive turnaround for Craze Clan, and it could push them 1 set ahead of Panna Fresh. Blacks is still behind though, but in this Bonnie form is not going to be doing too much at range. Jiro has the mute, now he once more has the pirouette, but the super from Poco might be there. He does get the heal off, and Jaime pinches in and takes him down, but they are in the lead now, and Rama with some great jukes with this mobility and Gasser heal might close the game out for Craze, but they are being backed off, and Rafa's coming aggressive. Nice stuff from him. Rama's had to back off a little bit, but now the 2 of them are going to go towards the zone.
Blacksy and Jaime both trying to duel it out here. Jiro does get the last laugh, 134 health as well, a 6% difference. It came down to a final 1v1 with both enemy brawlers being 1 shot each. Just 1 shot to decide that entire game. That is tragic there for Panna Fresh, but a fantastic win for Craze Clan. as while that last game was not as dominant as the past 3, they have taken 2 sets in a row. And even set number 1 looked fairly dominant for Craze. It was just taken back in the last few moments by Panna. This is a good look for Craze Clan, but it's not over just yet because Panna, they can steal things back in set number 1. They can do it in set number 4 too.
Yes, they can, and it is, a pretty difficult position for Panna now because they know, we know, the viewers know that even the set they got was Craze Clan's to lose, and that was just a great performance once more from Craze Clan, and I would not be surprised if they finish it out in the 4th set here. 23 kills to 17, which is quite a big difference in a game like Brawl Stars, which is so fast-paced and the game's being so short. 20,000 plus more damage, and that's another big statistic to have. And the heals, not so much, but Panna obviously had the Poco, they had the healers in the back, and there really wasn't too much of that other than the Gasser heal for Craze Clan.
And there was a moment also where we saw FA Panna like kind of find their groove where they were getting consistent Poco shots off, but it looked like more than anything, Carl just shut them down. There was not anything that they had to prepare for it. And used to be the meta was when Carl was basically the one brawler that the meta revolved around. You had to bring a stun. You had to have something to pop him out of that super, and there was just nothing in that regard from FA Panna, and ultimately that led to their demise because every single one of their brawlers was vulnerable against Carl, and we have seen just how much Craze Clan love to draft this brawler at some stage. So FA Panna, they gotta bring out some kind of counterplay in the next few sets, or at least get rid of them altogether. We won't see him banned out, so there's gonna have to be counterplay.
Yes, there is. Bans there. Penny from both sides, actually. Crow and Ruffs from Craze, and Janet Otis from Panna. Bo, I believe that was the second pick, as Jean, I believe, came in as the first, and then Max will now join the Bo over the other side. Not obviously got the best synergy with Bo, but at the same time, you don't want the kind of Jean Max falling into the hands of Panna, of Craze, regardless of it not being the best combination, even with those two brawlers specifically on this map. Still, it's not something you want to be providing, especially when they compare it with a tank like an Ashe, and that's just going to run in a straight line towards you with the safety of the bushes around him. It's dangerous. Craze Clan have 2 picks in a row now, and Panna will have the last laugh with the last pick. And it's got to be a pretty big one, because honestly, Jean is a first pick with Vision Gear and Gale to add to that. I think there are a couple of very solid picks from Craze.
It is looking very solid for them. They will be able to slow things down on that max push. It's not going to completely negate the effects of her, but given that Gale is a pretty tricky brawler to eliminate, it could be a big issue for FA Panna to push into. They still do have that last pick, but already seeing the tank counter and the hard tank counter come out as well from Craze is not boding so well for Panna, but still, this could be a kind of strategy like we did see from SK earlier, where they're attempting to bait the enemy into picking a bunch of tank counters only to shut them down later on. But so far, it doesn't really appear to be the case because Bo and Max are their picks so far, and while Max does hinge a lot on some kind of brawler that gets huge value from mobility, Bo, not really one of those brawlers that punishes the tank counters, because typically you're going for something a little bit more long range in that regard. The tank counters, they tend to have some shorter range too, but still, Panna have one more pick. It's going to be Amber, actually, and we do get to see some of that sort of long-range counterplay, but the bigger thing here is that it's center stage, there are a bunch of bushes, and they're going to be trying to get rid of those, and knowing that the only speed on this map comes from Max's speed boost rather than any of the speed gears, it's going to be a good asset for Panna. They still have to get the supers off, and they cannot get pushed in the early game because then she doesn't even have time to farm up those supers.
I think at the end of the day, though, Craze aren't going to mind that Amber pick too much, because I think a lot of the time Griff was going to be breaking down these sides, which comes along with the grass being blown up along with them. So picking an Amber and something like that, which already kind of wants to destroy the map, I don't think it's that much of a devastating pick for Craze to be faced with. I think the main thing we've got to look out for here is that Vision Gear, and which is obviously going to be negated quite a lot by the bushes being down. But Jean's a very solid pick regardless.
Well, let's see how it works out for them. Rama's already pushing forward. Now he has a position on the left side. Jaime's trying to break down the walls. Here's the emergency gadget, but it's not going to come to fruition. Now he does end up getting taken down. Jiro with massive value around that right side. Needs to get a kill so that Rama can finish things off. He also has a super if he needs it. Rama actually gets taken down. He thought he could tank all the damage, but it simply wasn't possible. And now Blacksea and the crew speed out of this goal. and now he's the only one left defending, also with some of those mines placed down on the enemy side. It's not going to be too amazing for Craze Clan once they push back out of this, especially if they did not really see the mines. It looks like Rama did catch wind of them. He's going to be disarming them for the most part. Now he's still trying to defend versus pretty much 2 brawlers on the left side as well. He doesn't exactly know the location of either of them. Could be a pushback on a Jaime, a lucky stun as well. And there's that final shot coming in to take him down. A 3v2, now a 2v2, and now a 2v1. And that final stun could be enough. They gotta have the sustain to get through Jaime. Pass up to Navi, and it's picture perfect. A first goal for Craze.
Nice for Craze there, and only a minute left on the clock for Panafresh to kind of sculpt their reply, and with supers pretty much readily available from the majority of Craze Clan, 2 out of 3 members, it's not looking bad for them. Now he's going to be able to pretty much push back and stun Jaime when he wants to make this aggressive play, but Giro falls low, almost gets a trade, and he actually does with the cards returning. Mines being placed down though, and it might be worth now just knocking this back. He's going to play passive and just try and get the save. He might have to sacrifice himself, but they don't actually get the goal anyway. A little bit of overconfidence there from Rafa as we just thought Navi not break the walls, and it just didn't go in.
And that hurts because how are you going to push versus Gale on the left side? He has the super to push you back. He has the gadgets in his pocket as well. And it's going to be defending those for as long as he can. With 38 seconds left on the clock, he can simply throw it down one of those twisters and defend it for the whole game, but he's not going to just yet. Big pull, and there's the kill as well, as now he tanks up some of the damage. There's a twister coming down as well. There's just not really much that Panafresh can do. Even if they push out of their spawn, they would not be able to touch that goal unless they get a good kill versus Gale in those last few seconds, because he's going to have to refresh that in just a moment. Here he does, in fact, and there's just nothing that Panafresh can do. It's going to a match point for Craze Clan.
I mean, Craze, if they don't close out here, I might start to be a little bit more worried for them, but for now, they are firmly in control, and they've got a firm grasp on the lead in this series, as Panafresh just don't look to be fighting as hard as they were in previous ones. Like, in the late game of the first set, they were getting comeback after comeback, and it doesn't seem like they're fighting as hard for the win as Craze Clan are at the moment. Now we go for a nice little flank around the left-hand side, but doesn't manage to get too much done other than a nice pinch with Rama in there. Some heals being provided with those magic puffs from Rama, but now he pinched in with both Rafa and Jaime shooting shots towards him. Giro making some massive moves down the left-hand side, though. Rama's going to grab the ball, does get it, but now he is not yet getting the kill onto Bo. Giro surely pushes his ball forward and might even gadget the pulls there. The shot through from Navi was a little bit clunky, a little bit worrying towards the end, but Craze forced the ball in, and 2 minutes away from them and the entire series.
FA Panafresh now looking for a new angle around that right side. Jiro's going to take a bunch of damage. Does get massive hits onto Blacks. He's now forced to circle from the back. Almost gets kill on Ramat, but they're all going to survive. Everyone now healing up for those magic puffs. And there's that final shot from Jiro as well. The game's over. The set's over. This one's chalked. It's a Craze Clan victory.
Craze Clan move forwards into a 1-1 position overall then after a sad defeat in the last last game day, should I say. They managed to pull it back. They beat Panafresh in this one, and they're sadly going to be finishing this this game day off 0-2, yet in another terrible position, same as their Spanish friends over in Team Queso. They've been put in a terrible position once more also, and Craze Clan going to be feeling good about that win.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be feeling good about that win if I were in that position. And also, in fact, Craze Clan, I mean, in spite of what happened in set number 1, they were able to pull back amazingly, especially the mental game there, because I can only imagine what sort of momentum had to be felt on the side of Panafresh, and also how that had to feel for Craze Clan, for things to be taken back in such a severe way at the end of set number 1. And yet, Craze Clan, they stay on their A game, and that's if they didn't even play better, which I think they really improved over the course of this match as they started to get a feel for Panafresh.
Yeah, I mean, Craze just looks very good, but Panafresh, they started to fight back just a little bit more in this Brawl Ball set than in the previous 2 before that, but it still just wasn't enough. They got a lot more damage as well, but the healing was all on the side of Craze Clan, which is quite influential when you're looking at the controlling game mode that Craze Clan kind of made this Brawl Ball set, regardless of it being so much of an aggressive game mode in Brawl Ball. Craze were able to just play it slow. They got the pinches through, I won't say they got the damage through, because obviously Panafresh did more, but they were much more civilized in their playstyle when going forward.
And I mean, is there such a thing as aggressive control? Because they were getting control at mid by picking up those kills, and it was a very fast-paced game of control, especially facilitated by some of those bushes that give you speed gear, can make the game a little bit less consistent, a little bit less predictable, but speeds up the pace of things in a huge way and can allow you to approach enemies and gank them when they're just least expecting it. And I think that is a huge way in which Craze Clan found that sort of control angle, and Panna, they just didn't seem to be ready for it. And then towards the end of the game, we also got to see that good old-fashioned control. Gale popping up his gadget, throwing down the twister right in front of the ball, and making sure that it's all nice and protected for around 10 seconds there, and just no one was able to touch it.
Yeah, great stuff really from Craze Clan, and I must say, you know, Panna, they're in a disappointing position because the roster that they are is really not reflecting the results that they are getting. Being such a great team all year round, well, for different teams obviously, but coming together as a roster, you expect more results from them. Yes, they've played possibly, or arguably, two of the better teams in this league. They're still going to be 0-2, and regardless of who you face, the leaderboard, it talks.
It's absolutely true, and just to make it the next stage, make it to the LAN stage, you have to be on the top 4, and that's where the real points come in for qualifying for that final LAN. So if you're not in that top 4, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. And the top 4, I think we all have our guesses exactly as to who some of those teams might be. We've seen some of them already today. We'll see some of those later today. We'll touch on that in just a moment, but for now, the win, I think, has been spectacular for Craze Clan.
Well, we are 2 games down, and if you've enjoyed them as much as me and Reddy have, join me in thanking Snapdragon Elite Gaming as one of our great sponsors. Obviously, being the name sponsor in the Snapdragon Pro Series, they provide a lot to help us put these kind of productions on and allow us to be able to provide such wonderful gameplay to you guys as the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it to you. Thank you so much, Snapdragon Elite Gaming, for making things like this possible, because initiatives like these to put such talented players on the big screen and to bring in viewers like you guys to watch the streams, it's just a fantastic thing, because these players, they work very, very hard, and they are immensely skilled at this game. They deserve to be up on the big screen, and it's all thanks to sponsors like Snapdragon Elite Gaming.
Yeah, well, you know, without Snapdragon, we wouldn't have been able to watch such flawless gameplay from Craze Clan there, clearly, and I'm sure we'll be watching some more flawless gameplay from Tribe Gaming EU and Navi up next, which promises to be an absolutely incredible matchup, Ready.
I think this is going to be a really, really interesting one. We're getting into those last 2 of the day, and I think you are really excited for this one. I'm excited for number 4 of the day, but just like you, I want to see this grudge match coming up.
I mean, I think it might go to a set number 5, but be sure to stick around and find out as we'll be going to a short break. Don't go anywhere, because more amazing action up next.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Monster Energy, and DHL.
Sneaky Fields. Okay. That was good. That was good. I did really bad in the first 2, but then I got a bit of a streak.
Sneaky Fields, easy, go, next. Not the same difficulty.
This is Sneak Fields.
Let's see. Yeah, another map that was in the competitive map pool, not anymore. Unfortunately, fortunately for some teams, but it's gonna be Sneaky Fields as final answer.
Hard. It's Brawl Ball. Okay. Beach Ball. Brawl Ball? Beach Ball. Map. Such fields. Sneaky Fields, oh my god.
Sneaky Fields Brawl Ball, not competitive anymore as well.
Hot potato.
Hot potato, next, come on!
And this is hot potato, Ace. Yeah.
Alright, one of my very personal favorite maps. Craze, so the game mode and then hot potato as the map as final answer.
Oh, easy. Hot potato haste.
Hot potato. Haste.
What's this map called? I know the map. Super Beach. Oh, beach ball. I clutched it up. Okay, there we go. Similar names.
Because this is beach ball.
Beach ball. Yeah. Because it's in competitive right now. And yeah, we played quite a lot, I guess. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, it is definitely Brawl Ball. It's definitely Brawl Ball. I think one of the most recent map added as well to the competitive map pool. So it's gonna be Beach Ball as final answer.
It's already beach ball. Yeah, my answer beach ball.
Beach ball, Brawl ball.
They don't want it with me. You got a problem with me? Love, you don't want it with me. Man, you won't ever stop me. Who y'all really got a problem with? Who y'all really trying to solve them with? Who don't really like the sound of this? Who come with me getting down to this? You better step back, get your neck cracked, get laid down where you best step. Better check that with a fresh map. Get lost now with no extract. Like, look, that's all me. Got my number, don't call me. We eating up, that's all beef. You freezing up, that's y'all's team. Cause we don't really lose no more. All about eating up, leaving that.
Welcome back to the Snapdragon Pro Series with 2 games down with another 2 bangers in front of us. How did you feel about those first 2 games, Reddy?
I think they were really promising, and especially seeing, I was really hoping that Team Queso would be able to pull it through today. Unfortunately, it wasn't for them, and I was looking forward to seeing Panna bring some more heat today, and they did. But Craze Clan, they just look so fantastic, which is great for them. I mean, for every victor, there has to be one person to say GG, and it's much of the same coming up, but the stakes are really getting higher.
Yeah, the stakes definitely are getting very high, and you know, the stakes are incredibly high between these next 2 teams as well. We've got Tribe and we've got Navi. This is really a huge grudge match in the Brawl Stars competitive scene at the moment. The monthly finals, it was 3-2 to Tribe. I believe Navi almost reverse swept that, and they're going to be looking to do something similar this time, but without the reverse.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting story too, because Tribe Gaming, they made it to that 2nd place spot so many times, and Navi, they ended up in 2nd place a few times too. It was Tribe to keep them from getting that that first monthly finals win this year. So they're gonna have to wait till next year, but they can still get vengeance today.
Well, let's take a quick look at the Tribe Gaming roster and see what they have in store for us. Tribe Gaming then, definitely a very strong team at the moment, and you've got to question if they're able to bring the same mentality they did against Reply Totem. They should be able to take down Navi, but Reply Totem did beat them in a 3-2, so the heads are probably going to be down in this Snapdragon Pro Series competition. Drage, Linane, and Tom being the main roster as of recent, and Yoshi sitting quite firmly on the bench at the moment, but he is, you know, an incredible player if they ever need to call him up.
Yeah, and Yoshi, he's like the mechanics guy. He's the 3rd. He's the one who goes in really fast. And then now also he fits that exact mold too. So being able to swap out these 2 is a great asset for the team. So for Yoshi to be sitting on the bench right now is definitely something that this team can afford. Drake and Tom, they're longtime teammates, and Lana gets it done. He is a fantastic pickup for this team. Just a few months ago, it really revitalized the roster, took them out of what was, for quite a while, a slump, and now they're still looking fantastic, though they did get upset a couple of days ago by Mystic, but they bounced back yesterday with a fantastic victory over, rather, not a fantastic victory, but still a fantastic performance versus Totem.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of losing, they definitely played incredibly well, and Reply Totem being the team that they are, by arguably a lot of people the best team in the region at the moment, and definitely through Snapdragon Pro Series Season 1 in the Europe region, they went undefeated all the way to the end, through the entire challenge season, through the entire challenge finals. Reply Totem were a team that we've got to be scared of, and Tribe definitely were bringing their A-game against them, but still fell short, and I think they've got to bring their A-game to be able to beat Navi as well.
No doubt. I mean, Tribe Gaming EU, this is absolutely a team that is up to the task to take down this team. I mean, we saw it just about a week or 2 weeks ago, but will they be able to replicate that success once again? Because Navi, no doubt, is coming back with a vengeance.
Navi a really dangerous team, I will say. And, you know, this is a team that Tribe Gaming have got to be pretty scared of, because the roster overall, they made it to, you know, second at Worlds last year. They've had 2 second places in monthly finals as of recent. We'll take a look right now who the players who had these incredible achievements are. The roster of MMA, Alex, Cube, and Angel Boy, a very, very strong one coming from that Eastern European region. And it's definitely a roster the Tribe have got to be scared of, because they've beaten in the past couple of times, but also you kind of got to think that Navi are going to be out for some huge revenge.
And Navi, this is a team to be feared for a number of reasons, not just because of their history, but because of how they play. And we saw this even yesterday. They played these close-range brawlers, they played the tanks, and it, on the surface, seems like, okay, well, we'll just ban out the tanks and we'll play tank counters, but still, Navi find a way to play these brawlers even in spite of the draft being a little predictable on their side. It's a fantastic talent that they have, and there's just no real counter to it just yet that anyone has discovered, but maybe in the last few days, Tribe has kind of cooked up a strategy. They've done it before, they can do it again, but Navi likewise have been strengthening their own strategies along the way.
I always find myself, you know, questioning Navi's picks, but they always seem to prove me wrong. So it's something I'm always very welcome to, and I will continue questioning their picks just to be proved wrong by this roster, because, you know, they took Frank on Tuesday. They walked over, I believe it was Craze Clan who they played in that first initial game, and it just looked really good. The gameplay, regardless of picking these kind of unorthodox compositions and drafting some very weird brawlers, they still pull through and they still get wins.
It's really true. I mean, Navi, this is just a team where you can disagree with what they play, and then it works, and then that's just entertaining right there. It's entertaining to be wrong, and they really do put on a show every single time, because they pick out stuff, like you mentioned, like Frank, that just shouldn't work, that or at least it doesn't seem like it should work, and then they do, and they do it in a flashy way too. Probably not by design, but just because it seems like the odds are so stacked against them with the brawlers they choose, and then they find a strategy that is so successful, because they didn't play Frank just once. They played it twice, and they swept the floor both times with this brawler.
It's dangerous to have a team against you who can just bring in just the most random stuff and still reign victorious when playing it, because that means, you know, what happens when they pick up the most meta brawlers? That's got to be something that you have to be scared of, and therefore you're still going to be banning these incredible meta brawlers. But they don't need them. It always seems like they're the ones who manage to pull through and, you know, make the plays even with the off-meta brawlers. We'll take a quick look at the head-to-head between these two teams in terms of statistics, and they've got the exact same amount of deaths, but Tribe Gaming are definitely leading in terms of kills.
Yeah, and I'm actually shocked that Navi does not actually have more deaths on there too, because they play these very aggressive strategies, very aggressive brawlers, and yet somehow still pick up more kills than deaths, which is something that we remarked on earlier. Certain modes you can afford to pick up more deaths than kills and still be incredibly successful, like Heist is one of them, because the objective isn't really to stay alive, it's not really to have control, it's just to get solid damage on that save. Also less damage done by Navi as well, and Tribe Gaming, I think, could be the expected winner just based off of history and just based off the stats as well, but still the difference here is pretty marginal.
It is a very marginal difference, and, you know, Tribe Gaming being ahead in the statistics really doesn't mean too much, because it's not the biggest opening between them either. It was 0.2 kills per game and, you know, only about 2,000 damage, which is something quite easily rectified by Navi if they can just play that little bit more aggressive, but still at the same time remaining with the amount of deaths that they do have, or even getting less would definitely be a bit more of a promising statistic to see from them.
Well, I wonder what sort of strategy Tribe Gaming EU is going to have to counter out Navi, because it can happen in the draft and it can happen on the battlefield as well. We saw that Navi can play things picture perfectly when it came to mechanics, especially with a brawler such as Frank, which you just have to play to absolute perfection. There's no real room for mistakes there, because he's so easy to counter. But hey, if you bring him in as a last pick, that's pretty reliable, though it looks like Tribe are going to have the last pick this time. Taking a look at the bans as well, definitely have some counters being banned out. In fact, Otis is going to be banned out by Tribe Gaming. Not really any tank counters banned by Navi, with the exception of Penny, who's a pretty strong counter, but not really dedicated exactly to that craft like B is.
Yeah, they're going to follow it with another Janet behind it as well. And, you know, with these two brawlers, you've got to be worried when they're in the hands of Tribe Gaming. Max is a pretty devastating brawler when in the hands of both Drage and Linane. So they're in a pretty versatile position at this point with kind of brawlers they can play, because how strongly mechanical all pretty much members of this Tribe Gaming roster are there. They're able to swap around and have that unpredictability and unpredictable playstyle no matter what composition they pick.
Well, another pick could be coming up very, very shortly. Navi has a couple of picks in a row to respond to these two. Janet's not going to be extremely easy to reply to, but Max, it's pretty clear how you could respond to that, but it has been banned out by Tribe already. There's a Crow ban. Now, Navi, they have B on their roster already that can ban out, or rather not ban out, but pretty effectively counter a sort of tank idea on the side of Tribe Gaming. They're going to follow up with a Poco of their own, and who knows, maybe even a tank here. If they have a tank that's able to get into the enemy backlines, that can cause some major issues. It forces a matchup where you and your teammate have to get rid of this brawler in your bush. In fact, it's going to be Bonnie, and she can super into those enemy bushes, so she can be effective in that regard. But even without that positioning, she'll be a fairly strong lane brawler. Still, though, Navi, they have one brawler that's able to outrange Janet. It's probably going to be their mid strategy. I wonder where Poco's going to fit into the equation, but it's not too infrequent that we see two brawlers doubling up at mid.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you said when they can get this tank in the aggressive bush, with Poco it's really hard to get them out, but the thing is with Bonnie, it might have that tankier form, but when she's going aggressive, she's not going to be in that tanky form, and that's a little bit worrying for them. Carl being the last pick from Tribe Gaming, though I kind of do like it flying hook down one of the lanes and get a nice pinch in through the mid, where a lot of this comp is going to be focused on, because the B is definitely a mid brawler. Poco's kind of got to assist in that mid as well. It's definitely going to be a mid-centric composition, and I think having these brawlers that are able to pinch so easily, and Janet and Carl, is definitely in Tribe's favor.
Well, we got to see how it works out now, though, because we've seen just how strong Carl can be into a brawler like Poco, but versus B, it's not going to be so successful. Here's the immediate gadget forward from Lena as he tries to take this mid position. Tom now coming around the right flank, looking to get things upset in those bushes. Might get that lash on to Angel Boy. There it is. Now Cubic has to defend versus this brawler right behind him. Immediate gadget once again. It's going to be taken down shortly thereafter. Tribe Gaming EU, after all of that, still only have a marginal advantage, but they're walking all over mid now. MMA is looking for a left lane matchup. Lenan now supering forward, trading out for that right lane. This is remarkable how much we've seen Tribe Gaming EU trading out the lanes so far, but it's not giving them too much of an advantage because they are going to have to back up now, and it looks like it could go to Navi at mid.
I mean, Tom's done a loop of the map at this point. He went all the way around the right-hand side, got a kill, flew to the left, and he's doing a solid job down there as well. Linane going in with a flying hook there. Angel Boy jumping over the top of Tribe and trying to get some damage in on the reverse side. But nice screeching solar from MMA to keep them low and now take the lead in terms of percentage over to Navi. Tom getting hit by that non-3K shot, but now he is going to have it charged for either Drage or Linane in this mid. They're going to pop speed to try and avoid it. They do just that, but he gets another one quite quickly, and Rattle Hive being played, and we're seeing it increase in this gadget massively at the moment. I'm intrigued to know what the thought process is for this gadget pick.
I wonder too, hopefully it works out for them. Of course, it is a little bit of a change than we've seen recently. There's a takedown of MMA by Drage. Lena also trying to keep things at long range if possible. Does have a super that he can use, but it's probably going to be used for mobility more than anything else. He is going to be able to punish Angel Boy on the left side, though. Still, Drage falls, and Navi seem to be in this indomitable position. Tom can't really do anything versus him. MMA, every shot that he gets, it's one shot closer to that super, and that super is what keeps his teammates and him alive, dealing damage to the enemy as well. It's very, very tough for Tribe to push into mid without feeding a super to Poco. In fact, it might even be impossible, and this could be a reality that they've accepted, but just by accepting that, they feed more supers to Poco, and he just cannot be moved off of that point.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to maintain positioning of the bush and just have B being unable to play at this range, and the same with, Bonnie as well. Linane's going to go in aggressively, try and get some shots at Angel Boy, but it really does backfire there, and he's going to be taking heavy fire from him now. Jumping from Angel Boy into Drage, who doesn't have a phase shifter at the ready. Tom now all alone, and Navi once more going to take the lead in percentage pretty quickly after Tribe just crumbles down.
With all this speed, he still can't seem to get in range of MMA. He's staying at range as long as he can. Another tuning fork coming out to keep himself and his teammates alive. Lena also getting solid damage versus Cubic. Surprisingly not getting tagged up too much so far, but he is just one shot away from getting taken down. Rattled Hive also looking for some value, but it's going to be that regular B shot to take him down. Cubic Now, looking for another kill as well, healing up in the process, throwing up a pin as well in celebration, because this has been such a dominating game for Navi so far, and they got to finish it out. But Tom is going to get those entry frags on the right side. Lana trying to get the kill on a Poco, but it's not going to be successful. It's just Drage versus both of these brawlers. Now with the phase shifter away, almost gets that kill on a Cubic, but wasn't able to do so, and MMA's already healed all the way back up to full health. This one's going to be impossible for Tribe Gaming to take back, it looks like.
Navi just going to win this one. There's straight up, there's no chance of a Tribe comeback at this point. Complete control to Navi all game long in this one. Pretty comparable to the first as well. I believe it was only like an extra maybe 40% that Tribe managed to get in that first one. But the second one, 100 to 15% is just absolutely massive. And without Tribe being able to get in Navi's back lines, we knew this wasn't going to end well for them.
I mean, this was pretty much B just firing shots endlessly, hitting most of them, and also MMA on the Poco just locking it down, making sure that no one really gets close enough to B to do too much damage to her, because we saw the majority of the brawlers found most of their value in mid-range or even close range in the case of Carl, and they just were not able to get close enough. They were all outranged by B. This is a strategy that we've seen from Navi repeatedly, not necessarily in combination with the Poco, but just keeping that B sustained, keeping that B alive by any means possible, and relying on most of the damage output coming from her. And despite the dodges, despite all the damage coming in from a brawler like Drage, for instance, it just was not possible because the sustain was there with Poco.
18 kills then for Navi. Not as much damage than Tribe, but they just had the heals. They had the heals behind them, and you could see it reflecting in the stats as well. 42,792 in comparison to about 15,700 for Tribe. Is just massive amount more heals, and with a game mode like Hot Zone, that is what you need. It's not the damage that matters, it's the Poco on your side. It's the ability to even heal on your own, as well as, the Decapo and not the Decapo, sorry, Tuning Fork, which is going to be providing the heals on the defensive side. And I believe he was using Screech and Soul. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't really catch too many glimpses of that. But even without that, Navi have healed massive amounts.
They healed it so much, and this is really just a different playstyle from Navi. It doesn't even come down to the tanks, it just comes down to they play as a team as much as they can, especially when it came to this zone. Yeah, sure, they played the lanes, but Tribe Gaming, as much as they tried to enforce some sort of lane matchup, the fight was at mid, and Tribe Gaming had to play mid. You can't really counter a brawler that, or in a way you can, counter a brawler that is just strong on lane by simply not playing on the lane, and then therefore forcing them to play you at mid. It didn't seem like Navi really cared also that they were getting flanked pretty hard throughout the game, because they just shrugged off the damage with a few Poco supers. It was anytime someone getting in close range, Poco was able to get a super for practically free out of that. It's an interesting approach from Navi, and I'm curious to see whether Tribe Gaming decides that Poco is in fact worth a ban here, but still, you only got 3 bans. You can't ban out mostly everything that is a power pick for Navi.
Yeah, well, double swoosh ban should be coming in shortly, and Tribe really need to book their ideas up after that previous one, because that was all on the side of Navi, which is, can't say unexpected, but I also don't think it was expected, because these two teams are very evenly matched, and having a first set as dominant as that for Navi has definitely got to be making them feel pretty good about themselves and winning the sales momentum on their side. And honestly, if they carry on with performances like that, and if Tribe Gaming don't manage to get their ideas and compositions and gameplay together, then more of the same can come out of Navi pretty quickly.
Well, bans and picks should be coming in pretty soon here. Double swoosh, some popular picks here. Gotta be thinking about Amber as well as Stu. Different roles here. Amber more of a lane brawler, Stu definitely a mid brawler. And kind of an interesting playstyle that we see from Stu here, where he's not really focused on getting control versus the enemy mid. He's more focused on getting in and getting out with those gems and just shutting down the possibilities for an enemy to deal with it. Now, Gene can have some trouble versus that, but he can also get some pulls onto a high-value target as well and scout out Vicious pretty effectively. Definitely a likely pick or ban here as well, but I'm curious to see what some of these teams pick out or ban on this particular map.
Definitely intriguing to know what they're going to be banning, because you've got to look towards the Gene as your first ban pretty much instantly, unless you are the first pick, who usually will leave that kind of open. Amber also a pretty established EU pick here, being able to burn down those bushes. I think that's a pretty solid pick as well. Crow scouting, pretty much having a free vision gear. There you go. It is going to be banned out, along with double Poco ban, Amber ban, which I mentioned as well. Janet and Otis banned out from those teams there. And with this, whoever's pretty much got first pick should surely be selected Gene. I think that goes without saying.
Well, we'll see if they do. I think an appropriate counter pick could also be, well, that's a great call out right there because it is going to be Gene as that first pick. A couple of picks for Navi that they can be afforded. Now, they also have the last pick, which is a dangerous situation for Tribe. We saw even when Tribe had that last pick, it didn't give them that much of an advantage, really, because Navi still knew what they were up to. And I think it's also kind of funny to see that Poco has been banned out by both sides. It seems like an interesting trend where a team, they dominate with one brawler. It's like one brawler that really brings it all together. And the very next set, they just straight up ban it out. And sometimes it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense on the surface. But Navi, they will go for the Colonel Refs here. Now, Colonel Refs not only just a great pick by himself, but also a great brawler to pair with Gene, so probably an ideal one to go for in that next phase. Navi, they have one more pick left. They can go for something that strongly counters Gene, like Colonel Refs, because he has those sandbags. They can also go for something that's straight up valuable here and might fulfill that mid-roll.
Well, we've gone for a B, which probably will be playing lane, maybe, I'd imagine. I don't know how much luck it's going to have against Gene in the mid, as it doesn't have like huge amounts of burst damage. Well, neither does Gene, to be fair, but definitely a bit more than B does. Down the lane, it's going to be pretty solid, and then they're accounting for the tanks as well. Can be played in a mid if Tribe Gaming's comp doesn't line up perfectly to play against those tanks. But Bo is going to be the next pick, and then a Penny to join it as well. Tribe Gaming's comp looking very, very well rounded, and probably 3 of the 5 top brawlers on this map are on their composition.
It's looking very stacked, but they still get outranged by B, which is actually not going to really be an issue in the early game. It's going to come down to the wall break that'll open things up in a big way. Now, Tribe Gaming, they're definitely focused on some wall break, especially around the enemy mid, and that might be the only place that they break open walls. The other thing, though, is that Colonel Refs is very deliberately going to be breaking open as many walls as possible, maybe even on Navi's side of the map, because that is where B finds her value. Here's a Squeak as well, which is pretty much just going to lock down whatever lane it's on, but it's more likely than not going to be that right lane. And also gets visibility in the bushes. That's the forgotten side effect of the residue. In fact, it used to be the only effect of the residue, but really it's a slow that locks things down. I very much anticipate Colonel Refs being on the left side of this map too, going for flanks and trying to farm with those supers for free, then opening up where Gene is going to be trying to set up pretty much a stronghold and sit with his super for as long as possible so that B can access him. We've seen just how strong the B and Colonel Refs strategy can be because just how much wall break you can afford yourself throughout the game. We'll see if Navi are able to execute on that because really the main strategy for Tribe is going to have to be counterplay.
Great taps from Linane there to clean up the mid nice and quickly, but Drage gets hit hard and follow-up shot from Cube once more, but Linane once again getting that kill before Drage can go down with a nice little two-piece from him over the left-hand side, and he does already have that mortar established, which is going to be absolutely huge and massively influential for the side of Navi, especially when Angel Boy's got to place his defensive power-ups first to empower his team.
We see the lane B is not working out so beautifully so far. Lena is doing an amazing job of locking things down. Drage also keeping him alive and healthy through the wall even, while remaining perfectly safe. We just have not seen those supply drops from Angel Boy. He's been outranged by Tom. Tom is staying so carefully in that position. Now he's being forced forward thanks to that asteroid sort of gadget from Angel Boy. Not going to be too valuable there for the bow, as he is respawning. Yeah, Tom now approaching this lane once again. There's a wall break as well. A stun onto Tom. An easy kill for Angel Boy, and he now gets to flank even harder now. But Drake just needs one more gem to start the countdown. He is going to be able to pick it up. Angel Boy lines up the shots. He has to get some wall break here. There's another supply drop down, and Angel Boy falls as well. This one's looking like a runaway victory for Tribe.
Well, there hasn't really been much focus from the left-hand lane, but first signs of it, and Alex gets shut down once more by Linane, and he has just played this matchup so flawlessly, no pressure whatsoever onto Drage for near the entirety of that game, and Tribe come out on top because of it. Drage doesn't have to even risk his life whatsoever with those 10 gems, and Tribe Gaming with a real nice bounce back after that first dominant set from Navi.
Well done there by Tribe Gaming because they allowed no value there for Navi. Though we are going to see a different strategy this time, different lane layout. It's going to be Cubic on this right side, trying to get the outrange on a Tom because of how troublesome things were for Angel Boy to play this lane. And so far, Cubic has gotten some value, almost a kill on a Tommy. Luckily regen just in time before that rattled hive made contact. Drage and Tom both being given a rough time by Cubic on the right. Angel Boy looking to tap up some enemies here. Does manage to push Drage out of that ideal position. Gets focused down a little bit by Tom, but no value there for Tom. Angel Boy resides in this position. Alex also tapping up Lena once again. Does fall, actually, thanks to a good help with that flank to push him into Lenan's line of sight. Cubic now getting focused really hard around the right side, and looks like Tribe Gaming are coming back here, but they have lost some of those crucial walls that they managed to keep up for the entire last game.
Yeah, I think with Angel Boy in mid, it's pretty smart with Drage pretty much being able to put him, and even with, you know, his ability to pull him there with no sandbags left, he missed it straight up and did not get any value whatsoever. Rattled Hive played once more by Cube, and I'm going to have a talk to the players and, you know, need an explanation why this is happening. 6-5 now in terms of gems, and Lenane has been keeping his lane pretty flawlessly once more. Drage trying to work towards another super, and Cube's low. Gets the Honeycoat shield, though, and now it's going to be a bit of an easier lane against Tom, as it's a little bit more open.
It seems to come down to just Tom pushing back Cubic on that right side, and then Drage can start to work on picking up some of those gems. Angel Boy, he's now left all alone to try and defend this. Lena on the left side also doing a great job staying right in that corner where Angel Boy just cannot access him, but Alex is going to roll up to the brawl once again. Needs to take down this turret. Lena staying safely out of range. Down goes the turret. Drage just needs one more gem, but he has no pull. Could be very close to it, though, and Angel Boy has to play this cautiously. He's dodging out so much damage, in fact. Lena, despite the flank, is not going to be able to take him down. Now it's 8-9. Drage could pick up this next gem. It's not going to spawn on his side. There's a slow from Cubic, but no kill shot. It's just Angel Boy left, and the dodges could be there. Tom needs to line up these shots, but it's just not a kill. Angel Boy, he's safe and sound behind this obstacle on the left side. Drage starts this countdown, but just one more is needed by Navi to tie things up. Spectacular max range pull there for Drage, but it's going to cost him because Cubic picks up the kill. Now Alex and Cubic have to fight their way through the right side. Down goes Lena on the left, and down goes Tom on the right. Navi now have 21 gems.
Poorly timed pull. I mean, it was a great pull, but he had the Honeycoat, he had his 3k ready, and there was nobody on his team ready to fight off what he pulled in. Navi now one game away from making it 2-0, but Tribe one game away from evening things out and forcing Navi just that little bit further. But in this one, Tribe were in control once more. They seemed pretty good. Ruffs was definitely a better substitute into that mid for Navi, but Tribe, they hit the pulls, but the pulls were just at the wrong times.
It was a fantastic pull. What a roller coaster that was towards the end of the game, with a max range pull just hit so beautifully, only to be followed up with bad timing on the pull, it looked like. We'll see what is capable on the right side. Cubic is going to be getting some value. Drage also taking down mid, all 3 gems lurking there. He's going to be able to pick up just 2 of them before Alex returns to try and push him back. No residue just yet. We'll have to see where he uses that gadget. Angel Boy now approaching the left. Lena with some huge flanks, and there's the kill as well. Tom gets traded out, but he did get a takedown at mid. Cubic, though, is not going to be abandoning post. A big pull as well, and look at how many walls have been broken down in the process as well. Drage now sitting a high and dry with 5 gems. Despite that gadget pushing him back, he doesn't seem to be concerned as Angel Boy is taken down by Tom. And this is a very, very revitalized Tribe Gaming, especially over last game. They seem to be making a few mistakes there towards the end, and now they are just on fire.
Well, turret was taken down by Alex over the left-hand side, but instantly replaced by Lenane once more. Goes for the shot, and the final shot to take him down, and he does connect it. Cube trying to get Slaughter's Drage, which he does, but it's Angel Boy versus the world right now, and Tribe are the ones who are going to come out on top of this. But Lenane trying to get these gems towards Drage and does a good job of it. The Super's going to connect them, and he's going to be slowed down. Can Navi kind of retrieve this lead? Drage pulls in this time and actually successful on his own. Drage, one shot, but the 3k does not connect, and Navi going to be dropping a set here against Tribe Gaming as they do hit back, and they hit back hard and bring it back to 1-1.
Wow, that's got to be the first time that I've seen someone also intentionally die just to drop the gems, and that was exactly what happened. Now he intentionally died to, I believe the mortar it was, to hand over 2 gems to Drage, and it ended up paying off because Lena, he respawned, he was able to play aggressive and help defend Drage in the back lines. So, I mean, great team play and safe team play there from Tribe, but I want to comment on some of the lanes as well. Tom, he was on an absolute tear this last game, and Lena, he was looking as strong as ever as he has through this entire set, and also just more cautious mid-play from Drage, because that play at the end of the game with that second game in this set, it did end up costing them that entire game, and really the max range pulls, they were only made when he had just enough ammo in the chamber to get the job done.
Yeah, it was a much better kind of play from Drage there towards the end portions of this, and you know, the pulls that he hit, they were incredible no matter when he hit them, but in the second game, it was what cost them, and he kind of repaired that and only pulled when he had assistance from his teammates or when he knew he could get it on his own with a knockback as well. Gems picked up, side of Navi have more. The same gems amount dropped, but I don't think many gems were dropped all in all anyway, except from that kind of one misplay from Drage in the second game. More damage on the side of Tribe and very even statistics and pretty much a very Tribe-sided set, but Navi managed to pull one game back.
This is true, and it was very well executed too, because they had just the right positioning to make that happen. Also, kind of a big blunder on the side of Tribe Gaming EU, so this was by and large just a Tribe Gaming EU set at the end of the day, and what a great way to bring things back after a dominating set number 1 from Navi. Next mode, we'll see whether it lends itself to the strengths of Navi or Tribe Gaming EU, because to go from practically what really should have been a 2-0 for Tribe Gaming EU, that immediately following a 2-0 by Navi, it shows that either they just got the difference in the draft or they really do specialize in completely polar opposite departments.
Yeah, well, Shooting Star is going to be the map up next. It's a very mechanical map, and it does depend heavily on the draft. A lot of these sharpshooters do usually get banned out in that initial ban phase, so therefore it's going to be pretty closed off into a mid-range kind of meta, and maybe a few throwers in there as well. But also at the same time, there could be some sharpshooters that slip through. We usually get maybe a B or a Bell or a Bonnie getting through there, but we saw on Tuesday, I believe it was a Nanny that slipped through. I can't remember what team it was for. It might have even been Navi that it slipped through for. And it just went off, paid off so well. And it was just really so dominating. And that's why the bans really are targeted towards those kind of brawlers.
Well, we'll see if it gets banned out right away, because if it doesn't, it's got to be a first pick. And if it's not a first pick, then I'll be just as blown away as I was just a few days ago, because it was the game changer. I mean, just to reiterate why Nanny is such a spectacular brawler here, has amazing range, is able to peek walls effectively, has close range capabilities with that super, and also the super has such long range and can one-shot the most meta brawlers on this map. We will see Tribe Gaming banning it out, as well as Gus and Piper. It's pretty indicative that Navi does have the first pick here, so we'll see how Tribe approaches this, having the last pick on their side. Now, Navi, they're already getting rid of some of the more popular last picks on this map, especially Carl here. Now, maybe not last picks is the term to use, but Max is still a brawler that can completely shift the way that you play this map. Is banned here a lot, just because of how different it can make the play style.
Yeah, well, B in here as the first pick for Navi, and I kind of do like it. You're compensating for a lot, but the Brock as a return pick from Tribe does have, you know, quite a big damage output when you connect in these shots, and the built-in Incendiary now definitely does some good work as well. Bell is another one of those sharpshooters who I mentioned that usually slips through the through that ban phase and has been selected by Tribe. So Tribe definitely going for this sharpshooter, whereas Navi might be stuck with some of those mid-range brawlers now.
Well, next pick will be on the way shortly. Got to be something to be an accessory to B. We've seen Navi pick B every single set so far, and I wonder if Tribe Gaming will eventually decide that they're just going to get rid of the brawler, but that could open up some situations where they really need a B, and Navi decides, yep, this is the time. We're going to be playing tanks, and there's nothing you can do about it because B is pretty much essential to dealing with those. Jean's going to be the next pick for Navi. They have one more. They need something that can pump out a ton of damage in close range in order to help out with those pulls, but another consideration is that Jean, he just doesn't usually get those pulls, as in they don't happen a lot throughout the game because it's not often that you can get an enemy in close enough range to deal with it. But what he is fantastic for is when he does have that pull, it pretty much guarantees that no enemy is going to dare get in close range versus you. A bow, actually. Not the longest range brawler, but those mines can break open some of the more strategic walls. But it's clear that Tribe Gaming were already going for a strategy of their own, because the only reason you run Brock here is to break open walls. And then a final pick of Sprout, I totally agree with. I think it's the perfect time to pick this.
Yeah, I think it's a great time to pick it as well. You know, if Jean can get the pull and pull this Sprout through the wall, then it's going to be a little bit difficult with the walls being broken, and also probably a lot of the grass that goes along with it, and you know the photosynthesis is able to get those heals from it, but they also might be using that transplant and replacing the wall rather than having those heals. So that would be probably quite the smarter pick at the moment. But I do feel like Navi maybe have comp, regardless of Tribe having these couple of sharpshooters. I love Gene, I love B, and I think it's just whether or not Bo's going to be able to really compete at this range.
We'll see if he is. Tom did such a good job with the bow in that last set. Now he's going to be faced against it, and already he's getting the outrange, but MMA is working on charging up that super for free, lurking right next to that totem, but Tom has pushed forward just enough to get in range and take it down. No super just yet for MMA. Lena also hanging out at mid. There's not much that really anyone can do besides break open this wall, and MMA just does not have that just yet. On the right side, Drage looking for some good peeks versus Cubic. Cubic's struggling to get the peeks just done perfectly. He might be able to dodge out some shots in long range. Still struggling to get any shots dealt onto the enemy side. So far, Tribe are playing this beautifully. In fact, they might pick up the first kill on the left side. MMA's dodging out the shots so well, and no damage really so far.
See, Angel Boy being marked as well is going to be pretty big for Tribe, and if Lenane can place a wall down in this mid and ensure that he's not going to get pinched from the right-hand side, we've surely got to see a Navi player going down. But at the moment, Tribe just aren't over-aggressing, and I like that gameplay from them, because they know they don't have to. They can follow these shots. Lenane can 3-shot the Gene now if he does choose to go over-aggressive, and he needs to over-aggress for his super, which is going to be the thing that actually turns the game around. Now going to place another bow totem, and that's going to be his final one. Angel Boy falls low, and he gets taken down by Tom. Pinch over from the left-hand side with a bit of help from Lenane as well. Wall now in the hands of Lenane, and he should be placing it. He does just that. Not really the best placement. It's not stopping too many choke points, but at the same time, Angel Boy's kind of pinned in this little pocket now.
Well, he is going to recover and place it right back down. It's going to keep Angel Boy at bay, at least keep him away from Tom. Lena and Drage could still be a bit vulnerable. Take down to Cubic, another one onto Angel Boy. It's falling apart for Navi. Tribe just have the control. This is the department in which they specialize, and Navi are trying to play on their terms, but it's just not working so far. A game victory for Tribe Gaming, and a dominant one too.
I mean, after, you know, that first set, for them to bounce back in the gem grab and have such a good set there and then continue that here, and they just seemed so composed, and that's what I loved about how Tribe Gaming were playing this. They knew they were in control as soon as that blue star was picked up. They just didn't want to feed Gene. When they did, they backed up and had them push into them, which is going to further this lead, and it's just going to be absolutely wonderful for Tribe. I'd imagine they'll do something very similar here as they picked up the blue star early on again.
See how they react. Navi still need an advantage here. Angel Boy already marked up, and there's the kill shot from Drage. This is already looking like such a clean start for Tribe Gaming EU. Cubic also feeling some of the heat around the left side. Big damage taken, and trying to keep Tom at bay. A big issue in the last game was that MMA was just not able to compete with Tom on the left, and he's not able to compete with Lena at mid, or especially not Drage on lane. Both kills of this game have gone to Drage as well. Another mark. This guy is on fire.
Good stuff from Drage now, then hitting shot after shot. Lenane, oh, what a play that was. Placing the wall down to avoid the Gene pull and push him to the left quick enough to be able to get away from it. That was beautiful from Lane. One of the first times I've seen that executed so well. Has the wall now as well, and Tom's got 4 stars, Drage with 5. It's going to have to be pretty much a team wipe, actually bang on a team wipe to get this turnaround as a possibility for Navi. I just do not see that happening.
Especially with Drage operating so well down this corridor that's been formed with the assistance of Lena's super. MMA is going to try and push through the choke. He is avoiding some entry damage. Cubic taking major hits. Stays alive by staying outside of that incendiary. Another takedown onto MMA. Angel Boy does trade things out with the takedown onto Drage. Things are evening out just a little bit, but it's going to take more than team wipe in order to take down these guys. Cubic still trying to get some more damage, but being kept at range by Tom. He's an ideal target, but MMA doesn't really have the ammunition to make it happen. And Tribe Gaming EU just continue to rack up more and more damage. Emergency super popped by Tom, though, is going to give an entry point to MMA, but Lena seems to have worked out the math. He knows that this one's over. Last shot from Drage onto MMA, and this set is over too. Tribe Gaming EU bring the scoreline for this match to 2-1.
Now that really was gorgeous from Tribe. That set was just so one-sided, and Navi I'm not sure. I'm really intrigued to actually know how much damage they managed to get in this game, because I'm saying it's pretty much just those few shots from Gene at range, and maybe a couple of bow shots here and there. But it just seemed all Tribe. That play from the name was just so wonderful as well. I've just got to touch on it again. Pushing himself to the left when the pull came through, and it's rare you see those kind of plays being pulled off so well. You can do it with, you know, a Frank super and stuff like that to avoid it as well. But it was just picture perfect.
It's the stuff that we don't talk about during the draft just because it takes extreme ingenuity to think of these kind of things. When you're really put in a pinch and you're playing a brawler that is countered out by Gene, you can give yourself, I guess, that additional way to back up. And now that this has been on the big screen, I wonder if more players are going to start using it, because it has been well known for a while that Gene counters Sprout. That's just how it works. It's rock, paper, scissors out here. But now that this is being shown on the big screen, maybe it's not going to be so much of a reality.
Yeah, these are the statistics that I wanted to talk about. 29 stars to Tribe, 8 to Navi, and those only came in the closing few seconds in that last one. 5 came from Drage, I believe, in that one kill. 17,300 damage from Navi, 85,000 from Tribe. That is a massive day and night difference between these two rosters, and a lot of it does come down to compositions. But at the same time, we saw such brilliant plays from Tribe there. You can't just put this down to comps, and they just played it so well.
That's really what it comes down to. I mean, wow. You said that the stats were going to be like a huge difference, but I didn't think it was going to be about like a 4 times difference, and even then some. Jeez. And this comes down to Tribe Gaming just playing with the confidence that they had. Lena, especially knowing that he had this special move in his back pocket to get out of a Gene pull. I mean, no wonder they were able to get so many kills and get up close and personal reliably, because they had that confidence that they were able to get away, and Navi undoubtedly knew that something like this could be coming and therefore didn't go for the power plays as often. Now, though, we're heading more into Navi's domain. This is safe zone. This is where they can bring out the tanks. This is where they can bring out the really aggressive play styles. The control stuff, that was 100% Tribe. And Navi, they tried to play it, it wasn't really their forte. And once again, this is Navi's stomping ground as we move into a long-range map, sure, but one that favors the aggression.
Yeah, and we see the picks come in now. Safe zone, you know, it definitely favors some passivity, but also at the same time the aggression definitely needs to be there. Bands of Colette, Bonnie, and Brock, Carl, Daryl, and Bell. First pick of the B, which I do kind of like, but at the same time, Tribe coming back strong. The Piper, which we saw Semantic destroy on, and the Ruffs, which is always really solid here.
Well, what could the response be? Because B has already been picked. She's going to be the long-range brawler to accessorize with Piper. This is also definitely a good strategy for Tribe to pick at the Colonel Ruffs, because it's just all around a good brawler on this map, but it denies that classic B and Colonel Ruff's strategy. You can get pretty much 4K shots out there once she does have that supply drop, which makes her extremely powerful. It looks like Navi have sensed a hole in the defense being in that draft phase, because they are going to be going for Max. We talked about how that can really shake up the layout of some maps, like Shooting Star. It is strictly revolving around that long-range matchup, but if you have Max in here, then you can close the gap so much more easily with that speed. Safe Zone is no exception either, because, I mean, it's essentially bounty, but they like stuck a safe on the end of it too, so you're trying to kill the enemies, sure, but it's really just because they're in the way of you getting to that safe. Buzz is going to be the final pick as well, and I do like this actually, because Colonel Ruffs, he can't block Buzz's stun very effectively with those sandbags.
Yeah, I mean, I think Buzz it's definitely a Navi pick. Let's put it that way. It is the Navi pick to go, and especially on a game mode like this, where, you know, we say it's you know, pretty defensive and you've got to pick your moments. Navi, they just completely disregard that. Max speed, Buzz, Gadget, or Super, and they're up the map in no time. Otis being picked by Tribe though, and I like that pick. Buzz comes in aggressive, you mute him, you get some damage on him, and he goes down, along with that trickle damage did get added to him as well. But Max it's a difficult one for Tribe to face, I think. I like the way that Tribe's comp is a lot more well-rounded, but I think when you pair a Max and a Buzz, things can get dangerous.
It can get quite dangerous, especially for the enemy, but it can get dangerous for you too, which is why you got to play it picture perfect. Now, there's not really any doubt in my mind also that Buzz is going to be running eyes sharp here. It expands that radius around him. so he can charge up that super more easily, more freely too, if you will. He's just going to be hiding behind walls whenever he can to try and charge things up, but Angel Boy immediately goes in to try and push things back already. It's not going to work out amazingly, but Navi will be able to respond soon enough in order to defend things. Cubic also is being a major nuisance on the right side, and Tribe Gaming are forced to address him. It gives just enough time for Navi to roll right back up to mid. There's a stun onto Tom. No reaction in time. Drage does tap him up and send him packing. Alex also has to retreat here, and despite the range advantage by Tribe, Navi are keeping most of the fight at mid for the time being.
Yeah, Lenane had Cubic muted there and got the takedown because of it as well. Tom chose to maybe go a little bit over-aggressive. Drage playing this auto-aimer now, and they do take the lead just after one singular push in comparison to Navi's pretty flawless control so far. Nice kill there from Cubic up top right as well, as Lenane does fall down once again. Super's pretty much all available from Navi here. Super comes in on safe. Angel Boy gets a few shots, but only just takes the lead. And with a pretty big sacrifice of control, that can't feel too good.
This is just how Navi plays. They go all-out offensive for the entire game. Doesn't really matter how much damage they take. Their only objective is to get themselves on the objective. And for now, that means movement to the enemy side. Drage and Lena are trying to slow this down, but they simply can't. They can take down Cubic, but it's really Angel Boy that keeps on pushing things back. And the dodges are just so tricky. Drage is struggling to hit those shots versus Angel Boy with the fancy footwork. But Lena and Drage are finally going to be hitting some shots on him, but it's only a matter of time before Alex and Cubic once again roll up to this safe and start pumping out tons of damage. Even with Tom trying to go for the base race here, he cannot get Angel Boy and Cubic off of this safe. It's just Drage trying to make it happen with the super. In fact, he's able to get that 1v2 victory, and now they push things to the enemy side, and they do have an advantage in terms of damage as well.
Lovely super from Drage there to get the defense, and Lenane now able to slide back onto Angel Boy, which is a matchup he should be winning. Little pinch coming in from Alex though, and Tom getting hit pretty hard by a big shot. Got the auto-aimer coming in from Drage there, but he does get taken down. All three members of Navi on the safe, and Tom can't make a decision. He's indecisive up top. They might get this defensive, and they might be able to force some late damage onto the save. Cube's going to get the shots onto Drage, and he's going to go with the takedown. 23% though, and Lenane's there. Tom's trying to get some damage through as well, but not sure if he's going to have enough. Angel Boy's got this super, but Tom gets this as well. The mute from Lenane. The super comes through from Tom, and they get it. They get the damage there. Tribe Gaming bring it back, and they are bringing it to a match point.
It paid off for Tom to stay up there next to the safe. Wow, and I can only imagine what the team comps were saying. No, Drage, we got this. Or maybe you got this, Tom, because it ended up working out in the end. Crazy stuff. What a rollout there towards the end as well. That defense pivoting immediately into the game-winning offense. It was just Cubic left there at the end too. There was just no way he was going to be able to finish off the safe all by himself, but he is able to finish off Drage at mid. Now looking for some nice shots onto Lena as well. Tom also throwing down some sandbags on the left side when it actually matters, because Angel Boy's not back just yet. Now he's going to be looking around this right side, trying to farm up things with Eyes Sharp. Tom is trying to defend. Double stun as well. And Angel Boy, Cubic, Alex, they all get to rain down Hellfire on the safe.
Alex gets muted though, and Lenane should bring him down with that nice defense, but at the same time, not so nice, as they did take a solid 42% damage onto their safe. Cube's going to get a kill here as well. He's going to slow down Tom also. Going to get taken down eventually. Super coming through from Tom, trying to open up that mid a little bit more to aim from Drake, knocking back Angel Boy and keeping him in the mid there in a pretty unstable state as he did go down, but Lenane picking up a power-up. He's got a lot of DPS now and might be able to defend just that a little bit better with it.
Lena and Drage now looking for the pinch on the left side. They got a corner in Angel Boy on the left side. Nope. Now the focus is turned to the safe, because that is where they're trailing primarily for the moment. Lena is going to get some control. Oh, almost the entire rollout from Angel Boy onto the enemy safe. Alex also going to get taken down. It's a whole lot of defense sacrifice, but thankfully they're able to respawn just in time. It still have signed away a nice 20% chunk of their safe to Tribe Gaming EU, but it doesn't look like there's too much counterplay for them to push out here, especially with every single member of Tribe Gaming EU being powered up with the damage amplifier that is gotten from Tom. They could still go for pinches here and could still get some stuns, but Angel Boy's not going to be able to make it happen on his own. They get the pinch on the back right side onto Tom. Still major damage having been taken this entire time. They now sit at a 5% deficit, and only 35 seconds remain to bring it back.
The mute was there and the auto aim was from Drage as well. They get a team wipe and the damage should start coming in, but Cube's there to tank it. Nice stuff from him, but 28 seconds on the clock. Tribe Gaming needs to try to keep this control and keep this defense, but they're starting to fall apart. Angel Boy gets one, he gets two, he gets the stun onto the third, and they're gonna get this damage through. The tanks aren't quite there just yet, but Tribe Gaming hold on just a little bit longer. Speed pop so Drage can't hit too many shots. Lenane's not gonna get it through. They are at a damage deficit now. They need to go forward, but the mute is missed. Lenane doesn't think he'll be able to get it, and he can't. Navi continue through. They get the turnaround that Tribe got in the last, and now one game away from evening things out.
Unbelievable. And reminder, Tribe Gaming EU, they still sit at match point. They cannot let it go any further, but it just might. Still, this is a comeback by Navi. They really seem to let things slip towards the majority of that last game. And now they bring it back towards the end. They have to find that same rhythm as they did in game number 2 just towards the end. Already, Alex taking major damage, but Angel Boy is in position. He can get pinched by all 3 members of Tribe Gaming EU, and it's not affording too much positioning to his teammates. That said, though, Alex will get to rotate over towards the left side. Early wall break by Drage is also going to open things up hugely at mid. Big stun, double stun, in fact, by Angel Boy. He does get taken down in a clutch move by Tom. Cubic still gets to fire a few shots into the safe. There's the defensive supply drop as well by Tom to keep Alex from getting any damage on that safe. It's going to be picked up by Drage. He gets more health, more damage here. Might be able to defend versus Angel Boy on the left, but Tom is not up to the task, at least not for the time being.
Yeah, Lenane was muting there, and he muted that honey molasses there from Cubic, and Angel Boy's eventually going to get taken down, but pretty similar to last game. Tribe have control, but they're at a massive deficit now in terms of percentage. Fat Splatter's thrown towards the safe, and that's going to deal 5% damage. Well, maybe not 6 now. Tom still got some sandbags left. Cube over this right-hand side trying to get some damage done onto him, but doesn't pop his sandbags now. Angel Boy's going aggressive onto Drage. He gets the knockback, though, and the pinch back from Tom might just do it. Super up in the air from Drage, but he adds a little bit more damage to the mix for Navi.
Well, just like in game number 1, Tom is going to be sitting here on the top right side, holding things down in a very difficult to remove position. He has those ricochets, and Drage just has the shots lining up beautifully. Is going to super back, actually. I wonder if that was totally intentional. He might have been trying to open things up on the right side. That said, though, Navi have found an opportunity to push forward. Alex going to take major damage, and there's a supply drop baited out, too. And that's going to be there for whenever anyone respawns. But for now, Tribe Gaming EU, every single one of these teammates is powered up with a supply drop. 30% more health, 30% more damage. Angel Boy is going to feel the pressure of that, too, on the right side. Now, those sandbags thrown down as well to defend versus Cubic. And Tom goes back to work in the same angle as last time. Additional damage thrown in with that supply drop, too. Now trying to get a little bit more difficult to remove. And it's going to give some space to Lena and Drage to rain down on this safe.
And Tom's doing a great job as well. Got another super. He's throwing that straight towards the safe once more. It's raining down. The damage is coming through. 10 damage left on it. Can Navi bring this back? 15 seconds, but Tom, he finishes it off. Takes the win for Tribe in a 3-1 victory against Navi, and that is monumental for their run through.
No vengeance for Navi today. Tribe still reigns supreme, and they do so confidently as well. And just when it looked like Navi was going to have their break, when it came down to their mode, their play style, Tribe simply diffed them on that back right lane. Tom really was such a power player through this entire last set. He firmly set himself up on the back right lane as much as he could. But we still got to give some credit to Navi because of just how effective they were with this all-out aggression at points.
Yeah, I mean, Tribe just looked so good. The control they had and, you know, the ability to just maintain this control through the mid. And Navi just wasted so many abilities coming through as well. Like, they were using phase shifters, speeds, gadgets from the butt, all to just get completely shut down time and time again in this third match. And it's something that definitely they've got to be a little bit worried about going forward. That is ridiculous. Ooh. More than double the kill, 52 kills in a set of heists from Tribe, giving 111,000 damage, almost double the damage as well. But the heals, they don't matter. Tribe weren't soaking up that much damage, to be honest to them, and when they were just going down and going back to spawn clearly and coming up once more. That is domination from Tribe in the game and in the statistics.
Yeah, healing doesn't really mean a whole lot in terms of, like, how long were you on the battlefield when you're just not taking damage to heal to begin with. And Tribe Gaming, that was exactly the reality that they found themselves in. The only damage they were really healing up was B. Everything else was practically an insta-kill, whether it's Max right on top of you or Buzz stunning out 2 of you at once. Navi, they had their moments. They really did have some strong moments in there. But Tribe Gaming EU, they were able to shrug off those clutch moments because for the rest of the match, the majority of the match, they were at mid. They were all powered up by Colonel Ref supply drops, 30% more health, 30% more damage. Pretty much all the strategy fell apart for Navi from there, because what used to be a kill combo in the form of perhaps a buzz stun or like a 4K B shot just didn't work out because the health was too much for them to contend with.
I mean, Tribe were just looking absolutely phenomenal in that one there, and the power-ups really did win them that game. But the real winners are Snapdragon Elite Gaming, as we give them a massive shout-out for being such an incredible sponsor to this competition, to us, to ESL, and to everybody around, because they allow us to put these productions on for you and allow you to watch this kind of top-class Brawl Stars that we just watched.
I mean, I've said it once, and I'll say it again. We're so grateful to have this sponsor here, and we're so grateful to have this initiative of SPS, the Snapdragon Pro Series, going on, because like Trav said, it's one of the things that brings these top-tier players to your screen for everyone to watch and enjoy, because it really is such a joy to watch people pop off and see just what the upper limits of our favorite games are possible.
I mean, the upper limits of that one were pretty high for Tribe Gaming as well, because that was just, it was just ridiculous amounts of control. Yes, they started off very, very shaky. Then to win 3 sets in a row after that hot zone was really something, because they bounced back strong. In that first set, it was complete dominance from the side of Navi, and they bounced back. Next up, we will have Totem versus Mystic Esports, which you said might be your favorite match of the game.
It might be my favorite match of today, just because we saw Mystic take down a pretty strong team in the qualifiers, or rather in that open stage. We saw them take down a pretty storied team in that last match day. Really, there's one final boss of EU that will truly determine whether Mystic is just the latest and greatest on the scene, because they'll be facing Totem, and that is going to be a huge victory for them if they're able to take it.
Well, we'll see if Mystic can take down the final boss just after a short break. Be sure to don't go anywhere, because we'll be back with some great Brawl Stars next.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Monster Energy, and DHL.
This is Gem 4.
It is Stone Fort or Gem Fort, or I think there was a name even back then. Right now I think it's Gem Grab, but there was also a bounty version. So it's Gem Grab, Gem Fort.
I mean, I know the name. I just can't tell you right now. I have no idea. Like Gemfort? Gemfort? Oh. Well, I mean.
It's Ice Fort, Gem Grab map. Yeah, it was changed a bit. Like in winter season, it was called Ice Fort, so I remember it is Ice Fort.
It is Gem Grab definitely because of the gem mine plays directly into the middle. It is Gem Fort, I believe. This name of the map has been changed a few times here and there, but I believe it is Gem Fort.
What is this map? Oh, double swoosh.
This is Double Swoosh. Pretty easy.
Yeah, I think it's double swoosh. I leave my final answer. Okay.
Ooh. Is it competitive mode? Ah, it's double swoosh. Okay, it's double swoosh.
Alright, again, yet another gem grab mode. And considering we have not one but two swooshes, right? It has to be double swoosh. So I'm gonna say double swoosh is a final answer.
Double swoosh, of course.
Canal Grande.
This is Canal Grande in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, Canal Grande. Yeah.
It's Canal Grande bounty.
It's Canal Grande.
We can see that through the river plays directly into the middle, and it is the only map that has as much river as this, so it's gonna be Canal Grande as final answer.
We like 10 and 0. I should probably tell them something that they didn't know. Back then we was down with nowhere to go. Might have been down, but we didn't fall. Now we running it like some intervals. Ooh, what now? Tell me who you see when you look straight up. Like, wait, who? Us now. What you gonna do when we pull up on you? Like, ooh, touchdown. You already know what it is when I come through you. Ooh, shut down.
Welcome back to the Snapdragon Pro Series. We are 3 games down and 1 great game remaining. Mystic Esports versus Reply Totem will be up next. Ready Set's already said it's probably his most anticipated game of the day, and I'm sure he'll have some great reasoning why.
Yeah, well, because we've seen such amazing stuff from Mystic Esports. Just this team that seemed to come from absolute nowhere. They take down Tribe, and just yesterday they took down Team Queso in a 3-1 victory. Now, we didn't see Team Queso take any wins today, unfortunately. It would have been a great recovery for them, but we'll see if Mystic Esports can continue on a similar trajectory, taking down one very storied team. Keep in mind, Tribe, they went down to Mystic, and they just took down Navi. And now, really, there's only one more place that you can go, with the exception of maybe SK Gaming, which is Reply Totem, which is absolutely crazy. What an amazing team that we've seen throughout this year.
Well, through both of our teams took a victory in the first game day. We'll see who can take the best victory of all and go to the top of the table. Let's take a quick look at Reply Totem's roster. Reply Totem then, Joker, Mori and Maru being the players and Inso as the coach. Pretty similar to what we said about Pedro earlier. He'll be the one in the background doing all the analytics, stuff like that, along with the analysts, and really putting them down on spreadsheets and allowing the players to thrive to the best of their abilities.
Yeah, and when we get into the kind of the player layout here, this is the same story that we see in a lot of successful esports teams. If you're just now joining EU Brawl Stars this year, then let's lay it out for you. Mari and Maru, these are longtime teammates, and Joker is the pickup that happened midway throughout the year and completely revolutionized this team's performance. Pretty much as soon as they picked up Joker, Reply Totem looked impossible to defeat, went on a total winning streak, even winning the last split of the Snapdragon Pro Series in a huge lane at Gamescom. Now they have their eyes set on the prize once again, but the competition has gotten extremely strong, and with some other teams such as their opponent Mystic Esports now arriving on the scene with a total vengeance, they might have a challenger.
Well, talking about Mystic, a few of you may not know who they are, as they are definitely some newcomers to the top level of Brawl Stars competitive. Let's take a look at the roster to fill you guys in. Solid roster then. Uncle X, or X in game, I believe he just is. Nevius, Arturo, and Nob to finish things off. It really is one of those hero stories that if they take down Reply Totem and move to the top of the table, they're going to be living on cloud 9, because they took down Tribe Gaming 3-2 in those open qualifiers. They took down Team Queso last week, and as you said, this might be the last boss they need to prove themselves if they manage to pull out a win and take down Reply Totem.
It would be the ultimate way, right? And the argument to be made there also could also rely on how Totem has been performing recently. Totem, they just have not been the undefeated team that they were before, which is not bad. It means that the competition in this region is just getting that much stronger, but it leads us to question, like, are they going to be absolutely perfect? Are they going to play picture perfect? And really, Mystic Esports EU, if they take them down, does that make them the new kings of EU? I would say no, but Reply Totem are still going to be one of the most formidable opponents that it's possible for this team to face in this entire region. And after taking a victory versus Queso and also taking a victory versus Tribe in that qualifying stage, I would say that they are probably up to the task.
You see, you might think that, but I just don't. Plain and simple, I just don't think it's a possibility that they take down Reply Totem. You can beat Team Queso, they're on a bit of a poor streak at the moment. Tribe Gaming, the same could technically be said about those. They had some tough games here and there, and they're not always at 100%. You either get the best Tribe or the worst Tribe, and I think the worst Tribe was the team that they faced on that qualifier day. Mystic Esports, if they beat Reply Totem, I will just eat all my words. I'll take everything back. They're the best team in the world. They should be winning every single competition. But at the moment, I stand by my point. I don't think there's any chance the Reply Totem will walk away with anything less than a 3v1 here.
Well, I really do want to see you eat your words. That would be kind of entertaining to watch, but I'm going to side with you here. I mean, I think Mystic Esports can bring something to the table to take these guys down. I mean, look at the stat comparison, too. More damage, more kills as well. Let's also acknowledge that it's just one match day so far. In Reply Totem, we have to consider who their opponent was yesterday as well. It was a very tough team in the form of Tribe, so it's understandable why their kills and their damage might be lower than Mystic Esports you face versus kind of a shaky as of late team Queso in that last match day. But still, this is looking kind of optimistic for Mystic Esports EU. Let's also acknowledge one of their strategies that was able to get them the win in that previous match day. They picked pretty much the 3 same brawlers through the entire set. I think there might have been just one set that they didn't play Janet, actually.
Yeah, I mean, Janet is the brawler that is just really taking quite a few people by storm. And it's not necessarily the newest, it's still fairly new. It's not Sam or Otis or anything like that, but it has evaded a lot of balance changes, and it's still an extremely good brawler. It's definitely something that you need to be worried about. But I mean, I'd love to see the kills along with this as well. I would love to see what kind of deaths, I mean, Mystic Esports have got, whether or not they've managed to get nearly 3 kills per game just out of being purely aggressive, or like if they've been punished for it.
This is true. Hey, maybe it's a statistics intentionally left off the screen because it was just too much of a disparity. But I don't know. I think I have my doubts. I think that the performance that we saw from Mystic Esports in their match versus TQ is pretty solid. And I think what we saw from Totem when it came to Tribe, we went in with our expectations, not that they were going to take a dominating victory. In fact, we anticipated that this might be like a Tribe victory in that matchup because Totem, once again, they were looking quite shaky, and Tribe, they were coming off of a monthly finals victory. But for the perspective of Mystic Esports now, I still think that the stats don't tell really the whole story, but they had to be looking pretty solid all the way around, even the ones that we didn't see on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, the statistics definitely are going to be pretty solid. I think, you know, facing the teams that they've faced so far with Team Queso, and it did seem pretty convincing against Team Queso, I won't lie about it. That's probably where the kills have kind of flew to this this next level. I think that's probably the highest statistic we've seen all day in terms of kills, and there's definitely some level of, you know, an unknown about this team. I'm not too sure about the playstyle, but just looking at that, I think you've got to kind of say that it is just a really aggressive playstyle, and that's kind of how they do get these kills. And honestly, I can't really think of too many trends of brawlers they play either, whether they like to go tanky or something like that, control, because they are just kind of an unknown at this point, and it's just really tough to say, you know, where these kills have come from. But if they can, you know, put that kind of kill output onto Reply Totem, then that could be an issue for them.
Yeah, and I mean, it does make our job harder, right? Because we're supposed to know exactly where these teams are coming from and like what exactly kind of strategies they're going to run. But Mystic Esports being an X factor, right? While it does make things a little bit more difficult, it makes them a lot more entertaining, right? And if you're a Brawl Esports fan, I mean, like, this is one of the greatest new things to see, is a new team rising to the forefront of the scene, just sweeping teams out of nowhere. Okay, well, not sweeping. It was a 3-2 versus Tribe, but still getting some unexpected victories, and a victory by this complete team out of nowhere is a great thing in and of itself, just on a game-by-game basis. On a match basis, it's only amplified like threefold. And for them to be able to take a win over Totem, not only would it be totally unexpected, but it would be like the ultimate Brawl esports shakeup that we have seen this entire year, and maybe even in the last couple of years too. Could be making history today, but it is still unlikely. The odds are seriously stacked against them. Still though, not having that history to roll back on, we don't know what kind of strategies they're going to bring out. We don't know really what could upset Totem, because on the outside, they look like a pretty much impenetrable team.
And you know, with Mystic, if they do make these breakthroughs, if they beat these teams time and time again, and they've made the breakthrough this late in the year, it's got to be a little bit disappointing for them. But at the same time, there's still the prospect of, you know, the second live event of the Snapdragon Pro Series, which they're going to be trying to qualify through this League Phase 2. And that's something that really will get you going. If you're a new player and you get to a LAN event the size of the Snapdragon Pro Series, that's really a big achievement to make in your first few months of competitive. That would be absolutely wild for this Mystic Esports roster. But you've also got to think about the realism. The realistic, like, is it realistic to think that's going to happen? And if they beat Reply Totem, then yes, 100% go for it, because you've taken down two of the top teams in the region. But if they can't, they've got to be a little bit more realistic, start from square one again, and, you know, take the teams that they should be beating before they take teams like Tribe again, I should say, SK and Reply Totem.
Well, even the worst case scenario under which they qualify is they beat all but those top three teams, right? If they can place themselves at number 4, that's the minimum you need to be at to qualify for that LAN, and then go compete versus those top 3, the top 4, including yourselves, if you will, at that LAN. And we'll still have to wait and see, do they have the metal to make this happen? Well, they are going to be getting that last pick, so maybe an early game advantage already. They just got to use it wisely. We see the bans too as we move into Deep Diner. Some control brawlers banned out. Totem going for some more conventional stuff that we would see banned out here. Even though they have the first pick, they're getting rid of some popular first pick brawlers. Mystic Esports on the other hand, are getting rid of some brawlers that, yes, would be valuable as a first pick, but also just valuable in the middle of that draft phase. Stu, I know that they for sure do not want to play versus Joker on that brawler, and Squeak can just all around be irritating. And a first pick of Bo, I think, reveals that they're going to try and rely on Totem to make some mistakes here, but also it opens up the side lanes for some better lane play for them.
Some better lane play being the Otis, I would imagine. Big DPS, big mute ability with the Silver Starfish, and it's just an all-round solid brawl. I won't repeat everything I've said every time Otis has been picked, but it's just very good. I think that's all that needs to be said. The mute ability is very, very strong. But as you say, I think the Bow is one of those brawlers where you want the turnaround thanks to the tripwire and the mines, or not even the tripwire, but just the stun that the mines come along with it, because that's what will turn around the game. But with Max being played along with the Gene, he's got the phase shift, he's got the speed that's going to be able to help his gem carrier get out of those kind of sticky situations, and I think it's solid. They go with the Sandy, and this is a dream for people who used to watch Brawl Stars competitive, because this is the comp of comps.
It really is. I mean, really to see Sandy back in the mix is like so wild. There was once upon a time, this was like the indomitable trio. It appeared in East Asia, and then it made its rounds around the world, and then a few brawlers got nerfed here and there. Here's a pick that you're going to love, though, Trav. You mentioned this brawler in particular, Surge, being able to work around those side lanes. And I mean, look, I'm no Trav, I'm no former pro player out here, but I just haven't seen Surge really perform too well on Deep Diner lately. It seems relatively easy to counter him. However, looking at the range of some of these brawlers, it's going to be way tougher to outrange him and deny him supers.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. I think with Sandy, though, you are going to have to kind of get into that close proximity, and maybe you're going to have to use your sweet dreams if the Surge does get into proximity of almost getting that super, and I think that's not the prime position to use that gadget. You want to be stunning up the gem carrier and have the Gene pull them towards you, or just finishing off the gem carrier on your own. You can see them just staying away from Mebius here over the right-hand side. They don't really want to feed him whatsoever, and they're okay with giving him the lane as long as they dominate the rest of the map.
Mebius on the right side still trying to get in range, also trying to lurk on this right side. Does have the bush advantage now, but Maru's trying to come in from the left side. With no walls protecting Mebius from any assaults on the left side, it's going to be quite dangerous. Totem really are focusing down this left side. X does manage to pick up a kill. Another takedown as well onto Joker. It's just Maru alive. Nob also staying out of range is going to pick up that 4th gem too. Throw down a Totem as well. It's going to help Mebius charge up his next super as well. Joker does have a pull, and he won't be using it. Maru also with a takedown is going to dodge out some of those mines as well, disarming a lot of them. And a lot of those bushes are going to be gone as well. It means it's going to be tougher for Joker to hit that super, which he is going to miss actually on the right side. Mebius, though, likewise will have some trouble because he might have relied on some of those bushes and some of those walls to get that powerful position on this right side. Now with the Sandy super coming down, though, this is something that we have not seen in competitive in a long time, just because we straight up haven't seen Sandy in a long time. It gives you so much value. Having that much invisibility lets you do things like what just happened on the left side right then. A great pinch on the left, and Reply Totem are bouncing back.
Yeah, with Mebius only still at level 2 as well, it's a little bit dangerous for Mystic Esports, but eventually gets this power up as well. And he should go down here, but Joker's missing shot after shot, and now it's Mystic Esports back in control in that 3v2 situation as Mori just starts to slot back up and get back in some form of position once more. Mebius needs to go through this level 3. He's waiting for the prime opportunity and eventually does do it, but Mori's popped a super up top. A little speed there from Maru as well to help him out and go aggressive. But it is just Mori on his own, and he picks up 1, avoiding some bow shots as well, and he does take down Mebius on this defensive side of things, 10-7, and there's no reset there for a mid, I don't believe.
Joker tried to go for a pull there, but he just couldn't. Nob is still going to get taken down, but Mebius stomps on the competition. Now still needs to make its way forward, and all those gems topple to the ground. Joker does have 10 gems, but it might just be enough time for Mystic Esports to take this one back while they wait for another gem to spawn. Joker's still waiting in the bush with his super. We do see the gem count tied up. Speed as well. Joker's going to have so much power in order to go for this kill with his super, especially with the speed. It makes it a lot easier to hit, but it's not going to work out so far. Still, some gems picked up. Just enough time for things to end off. Mebius needs to push in here and get some value off of Joker. Otherwise, it is not going to be a victory for them. Reply Totem, they seem to be safe and sound. Maru does get focused down, but the gems could not be picked up in order to get the tie there and stall the countdown. It's going to be game number 1 going to Reply Totem, but it was kind of a shaky one.
Well, something happened where we couldn't see, but it looks like it did go in favor of Reply Totem in that portion of the game. Sure, it was something of a pull or a speed, something like that was really explosive and able to quickly flip the gems into their hands, making it 14-6 at that time. And they almost did bring it back at the end there. If they could have got the kill and then picked up the gems in just a couple more seconds on the clock, then that would have been a Mystic Esports game to lose. But Totem now back in control as mid. Bowmine's nice and early on again, and they are taking some heavy fire. Mori just trying to go for super, but can't quite make any connections. Eventually makes 1, but that's not much charge towards the super whatsoever.
And a takedown on the right side. Joker just barely stays alive. Maru has the speed as well. Joker, he's worn down and weary, but now he has to go with that super too. No value there. He just didn't have enough really health in order to get a super off there. In fact, he gets taken down by Mebius from that right flank. It's just Maru at mid. He does have a phase shifter to get away, so he can stay here with a good amount of confidence that he's not going to get taken down. Mebius on the right side is actually left completely alone. Nob needs to help him out, but just cannot get there in time. And Maru and Joker are able to team up to get this kill. Joker now approaching from the right lane. Takedown into Mari is going to eliminate him, but still with that super down, Maru and Joker have just so much influence over this area. It's going to be going away right now, but still, Maru picks up that 8th gem, and it looks like Reply Totem are pretty much safe and sound. It's going to take a huge upset from Mystic in order to take this game back.
I mean, this might be the turning point that they need. The vertical jump there from Mebius, not using that aggressively, and now he does have level 3 once this gadget does run out. And there is some possibility of a comeback here, but Joker's got this pull. Maru just waiting for the speed to pair it with Mori and Joker to really get some value, but the heal's coming in from the magic puffs. Eventually the speed's popped, but not got much from it there. The pull comes in onto X, and the knockback of the shots through as well. I believe he might have missed his mark there and not got that through, but that also could have just been a shot, and only 1 of the bullets came out before he died. Evening things out now from Mystic Esports, and it was. He's still got his mute there. My mistake on that side of things, but now Mystic Esports had the possibility of a comeback without Joker with his pull, Maru with his speed, or Mori with the super. They're pretty much left out and hung out to dry.
Well, let's see if Maru can keep this up. He has to get the speed in here. Joker not going to make contact with that pull. X is still going to go down, though, but he did hold things up for a moment longer. Reply Totem just need 1 gem picked up here in order to get the next extension of that countdown. Maru's going to be able to rush forward and avoids the stun as well. Crazy stuff, and avoiding all that damage from Surge. Another gem picked up for Reply Totem, and they will get the countdown in their favor.
I mean, this is just Totem's mechanical prowess really coming out here, because those dodges and stuff like that was just absolutely insane. The pull forward as well from Joker. Speed's there. Can they avoid these shots from Mebius? They get the kill. The takedown's there on the trade. Maury's going to go and try and pick up all those gems, but Bo's got some serious DPS. One shot, but 14 gems in hand and only 8 in the hands of Mystic is going to be going Totem's way, but Maru gets stunned out. The pressure's still there. 9 seconds on the clock, and Mystic Esports aren't done yet.
They have to know that Maori's over here, but they got to pump out the damage in time. There's the silence, and they do get the takedown. Nob's still alive on the right side. Maru's just one tap away from being taken down, but Mystic Esports are forced to back up because they have to allow their teammate to get back in time. Maru has no gadgets, no supers to get away either. He does get the super back. 5 seconds left. He might be able to get away from Mebius. He does, in fact. Nob cannot get to Maru in time thanks to the great tanks from his teammates, and Reply Totem will take this first set in actually such a close one. We got to see the best mechanical sides of Totem, and we got to see it just how well Mystic can play as a team, but still, this did not look super dominant for Totem, even though it was a 2-0.
I mean, that first game did look quite good for Totem, but the second game was definitely not the same story. Mystic started to look a lot better in that second one and really had some fight back there, but this ball from Joker's really, really nice. Waiting for X to pick up the gems and then hitting it as well, knowing what movement he was going to do. But then the trade was there, and Bo just couldn't get enough damage in onto Maury there to get him taken down. Speed available there from Totem, and, you know, with 15 gems there, even if they got reset after reset, if they didn't manage to pull any of those gems out, it was going to be the game to Totem anyway. Statistics are here, 73 to 50 gems picked up, but look at all those gems dropped, and this is just kind of the story of the game here, with just back and forward, but overall, 8 gems. Little bit of an 8 gem difference there between gems picked up and gems dropped by Mystic, and that's really not too good.
I mean, let's talk about the damage, though. Look how much Mystic Esports EU was capable of here. What a massive discrepancy, about 40,000 damage there. And I think a lot of that can be owed to simply how well they played the Surge, which was their last pick. So we mentioned briefly at the beginning of the match how much value will they find out of just having that 6th pick available, and with the Surge pick, they managed to get a lot of speed on the board simply by virtue of having Surge. He can get so fast once he upgrades to that 2nd level. Even with a lot of the bushes being broken open too and phasing into a max, it provided so much value. It just was not a win for them in the end, even though they brought out some huge efforts towards the end there. Now we head to Goldarm Gulch. Now we won't get to see that fast-paced gameplay as before, but knowing that Mystic can bring the heat just as much on the front of mechanics as Reply Totem can is a little bit worrisome for Totem.
Definitely a little bit worrisome, but I also think a game mode like Knockout, where it's just literally pure mechanics a lot of the time, is definitely a game mode that Totem aren't too opposed to having up next, especially after taking that first one. They're not going to have the biggest amount of momentum because it wasn't that dominant in comparison to a few of the other sets we've seen from Totem in the past. But the bans are in. Gene, Ruffs, and Piper from the side of Reply Totem. Mystic Esports are going to get rid of the Sprout. They're going to get rid of Sam and Squeak. And then Gus being the first pick from Mystic Esports. I don't think that's something that Reply Totem will be too sad about, but also at the same time, it's still a pretty good pick.
I do agree with it so far. I wonder how the response from Totem is going to look like. They could choose something relatively long range. B has not been eliminated just yet. Here's a Bonnie as well. She's going to be able to get in close range, and that'll be a great way to counter out some ideas from Mystic Esports. Keep in mind also the ban of Sprout so far is pretty much going to afford Mystic the ability to pick Tick here, which they might be a little bit more cautious about now that Bonnie is on the enemy side, but it could still be a great pick for them. You just got to make sure that final counter pick does not get up in their face like that, especially since we're on Goldarm Gulch. Rico is a valuable pickup, and that could also be a great decision for either team. But still, I wonder what last pick could afford the most value here, because on Goldarm Gulch, a counter pick is not really the main thing you're thinking of. Here's a max, actually, which is a bit curious from them. It means that they're going to have to get very close to their enemy in order to do much damage.
Yeah, these aren't really the most normal, Al. That's about as complex words I could think of in that second. Comps for this map. Like, yes, Bonnie's used, Janet's probably used quite a bit, but Gus and Max aren't really kind of at the forefront of the meta here, and they're clearly trying something maybe a little bit different. Max, maybe they don't want in the hands of Totem if that was something they wanted to go for. But Gus, I don't think really has the highest damage output for those closing seconds. It's got a decent amount of range, but it's not really that influential. Penny being the last pick from Mystic Esports, which is something that I actually do really like, and I think that's a very solid pick for them, especially against that Bonnie.
Last pick coming in. How are they going to counter this out? They might go for something with a penetrating attack. They got to go for something also with long range. There's the Rico as well. Rico is pretty much a no-brainer for this map. I'm surprised it made it through the draft so far, but it seems that just in the ban phase, a lot more brawlers were left open than we would usually see, especially if we take a look at what Mystic Esports got rid of. They got rid of Sprout, which is understandable, but already Sam and Squeak, typically brawlers that would be banned out here, but I mean, also Squeak is a brawler that appears here every now and then too, and can be extremely frustrating to deal with. You just can pretty much never push through that lane. Now, we're getting into the game though. I wonder how this max is gonna also turn out too, because you're gonna have to get in close range versus some other brawlers in order to actually get value off of it.
Yeah, you know, it is difficult for the Max in this matchup specifically as well. I think against the Janet, who you really can't juke that well. Yes, you can juke the Bonnie and the Rico, but if that's not your matchup, then you are going to have a hard time. And instantly, Mystic Esports and Spawn as Totem just walking over them so far.
And also a lane swap too over the left side. Joker trying to disturb things. Mebius is taking major damage. He's going to be forced to back up as he drops below half health. X can now take the reins and start pushing in. Maori's taking big damage. Still, one super for the enemy side so far. Mystic Esports does manage to get a shield onto X. Super forward for Maori. He's actually going to end up paying the price. Big angles hit here by Joker, though, to even things out. Now it's a 2v2. Maori could get pinched in on the right side. X, not with a great prediction there. Maori's going to take damage from the poison, too. It could be a lure to get him down to that bottom side. Major damage taken by Nob as well. Some health healed up by Joker, too. There's the super up towards mid. Maru and Joker trying to face versus Nob. There's one tap. Nob's going to be able to clutch it up a 1v2, and there's the first round going to Mystic Esports.
Well, that was just incredible from Nob. Being able to pop that shield there and then perform so well off the back of it was really solid, and especially against a team like Totem, who usually play so well as a team. They didn't really coordinate that too well with, you know, Maru not landing in the best of positions there. But I'm sure they'll be looking to kind of bounce back in this matchup as Joker starts to push around the right-hand side, and X falls fairly low here. Good pinch in from Maru up top as well, kind of forcing him into this unfavorable position.
X still trying to pinch around the bottom side, but there's no one on the top to really help him out. He's got to be careful he doesn't get pinched out by Joker. Early takedown to Maru. Another one onto Joker. Maru's going to have to clutch this up. Almost a kill onto Nob. He could be pinched around the right side. There's that final shot threaded around the right side by Nob. And Mystic Esports will be taking this game. What a game for Mystic Esports. That first game, or that first round, it wasn't looking as convincing. It looked like more of a clutch than anything, but round number 2 was 100% Mystic Esports. I wonder if Reply Totem are almost underestimating their opponents, because they're taking some risks, especially around that left side that led to an early takedown of Maru, and it all just started to fall apart from there.
Well, another gadget popped by Nob there, and Mori's going to fall down because of it. Nice kill from Nob on the left-hand side, but still Joker with his bouncy castle not going to survive this as well, and wow. Totem are falling apart here. Mystic Esports are looking absolutely brilliant as Maru just remains, and doesn't really want to feed X super, so he's going to try and get one of his own and then retreat into the gas, but maybe he's going to take him down anyway. And not sure if that was the best idea, as the penny turret can be quite influential, and we already saw the super. Oh, actually, we didn't already see the super come out from Maru, so definitely a good kill.
Yeah, I definitely commend that play. Wow, what a start to this game. Everyone from Mystic Esports ran up that left side and got immediately punished. That had to be a mistake on the prediction of which side Reply Totem would take, and they paid the ultimate price. What a quick round for Reply Totem. Mystic Esports, they're just one round away from finishing out this set in their favor. They cannot let it slip the opposite way. They are going to be rotating towards the right side this time. Totem now on the left side, not going to get that early game takedown. A lot of it came down to Joker just getting that super off so quickly. He does have the super once again, will get some damage onto X, but he won't be able to get anywhere near this turret now because it is firmly locked on this right side. He can try his best to get some damage versus X, maybe get some additional range, some piercing shots with his super to take down the turret from there, but it's really a long shot, both literally and figuratively. It's not going to happen.
Well, Joker getting pinned in now by that turret, and he's got to be careful of this X pinching around the right-hand side, but Mori going quite aggressive with this gadget that he's got popped on going now, and taking another shot at the Max, who does fall low, and damage gear activates for him, but Mori hit by the turret now and brought down to one shot, but the gadget connects as well. Lovely stuff from Nob there to get the kill with the gadget, and great timed as well. Joker now trying to get some shots through, but it is a 3v2 situation, and this is surely going to be all Mystic, and the set should be theirs, but good suit from Joker. He places the bouncy castle out again, throws out another one, but that doesn't get many connections. It's Mori, Maru v3, and there's no chance of that. Mystic Esports take it, and they take the set along with it.
And a 2-0 victory as well for Mystic. What a way to take back the match and tie things up after set number 2. A dominant one, too. I mean, there was only one round there where they looked shaky, and that was because they all ran up the left side, and so did Totem, and Joker had a super. That pretty much is how that one spelled out. And Mystic are just looking so on fire in this matchup. They even competed relatively close to what Reply Totem had to offer in that very first set. Totem need to step up their game because Mystic Esports might be able to upset them here in the third set. Still, though, it is Reply Totem. We can't place all of our chips on Mystic just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a bit of a tough call, to be honest, between these two teams now, and Reply Totem having such a good first set, and then Mystic having an incredible second set. I've still got my eyes on Totem, though. I feel like maybe this might have been an issue with the comp, but I underestimated Gus heavily. I take everything back I said about that, and it seems like that's what I'm doing all day, every day at this point, just taking back what I've said about certain brawlers and just being wrong, like 95% of the time. But I mean, I thought honestly that Gus wasn't going to do too much, but he clutched around and it did a lot of work overall. The gadgets put in some solid work at range against Bonnie, and it did pay off hugely.
And it really just looks like Reply Totem, they were not familiar with facing into this brawler just yet, and this is a great leg up for Mystic Esports EU, but it's not a long-term strategy either, because you only get a new brawler in the game every now and then, right? Every few months, and that is not a consistent strategy that you can exploit in the coming months. So maybe it'll work for some of these first match days in the challenge season, but as players get more familiar with Gus, it's not going to be a viable strategy. Though Reply Totem, they are banning out Gus. They just don't want to play versus this guy. And if you Reply Totem, then you can afford to target ban a brawler that's just simply giving you trouble and is run a lot by your enemies. But Mystic Esports, they have some other tools in their arsenal. They have B and Otis already being selected here on Dueling Beetles. But of course, we got to acknowledge that these brawlers get a lot stronger once some of the walls are broken open. And, well, they're not going to be broken open by Stu. That is banned out. They know just how well Joker can perform with that brawler, so they're targeting that one. Also, a ban of these other two brawlers, Squeak and Poco, just very solid stuff for Mystic Esports. They're eliminating some of the more inconsistent brawlers from this mode, the ones that are harder to predict, harder to draft around, so that they can make a more consistent draft for themselves.
Yeah, we've got the Bell pick coming up for Reply Totem now, clearly wanting to play at a bit more range than what well, actually, no, Mystic Esports have kind of opted to play at range as well, and that was kind of maybe a defensive pick against that. But Janet once more picked by Totem, and hopefully it'll work for them this time, because in that previous one, definitely not what they wanted. But again, Otis, very solid pick. Bo is the last pick from Reply Totem, and I do like that. The Bo mines are going to be able to be placed in some great spots, and also can break up the map to your liking as well.
We'll see how they react to this. They could try and go for some kind of outrange strategy. Colonel Ruffs is banned out, so that's not going to be a possibility for breaking open the walls. They also need to make sure that they don't really get outranged. But B is always going to be a fantastic brawler for slowing things down at mid. Otis is always going to be a good brawler simply because of his range. They would really like to go for a Gus here, but he is eliminated. But Bonnie has not been picked or banned just yet, and yep, there she is as the pick. A lot of the choices had been whittled down for Mystic Esports, and going for something that is just consistent and they've also played a lot is definitely the move here.
Yeah, I also do think it's the move. I think the comp is solid, and I think both sides of the coin are pretty solid as well, with both compositions. Bell, Janet, and Bo, I think, is pretty solid. But Bonnie, it's been pretty hit or miss in the Snapdragon Pro Series so far, I think, and I always, dislike it. I never say it's, I never really am too positive about the pick, no matter what map it's on, except for maybe like out in the open or something like that. But here, I think it's very solid. If you pick the right time to go aggressive, it can really, really pay off. But at the same time, it's just difficult, because there's going to be quite a lot of defensive measures against it on the Totem side.
This is very true, though. Can still jump towards Maru, for instance, as long as they don't get marked up to begin with. Kills traded out left and center as Maru advances up the right side, but Navi is able to step onto this point with relative safety. now tying up the percentage count. Joker, though, doesn't seem to be afraid of stepping on that point and stepping off, but when X has a high-powered B, he's got to move away. Cannot advance forward until that has been used on Maru, but X is actually being very hesitant to pop it off. Joker's going to take the risk up at mid, and X has been forced back along the way. Does try and hit Joker with that first one. Now looking to get that next high-powered B off of Maru, but the shots just aren't connecting. Reply Totem is going to take back the lead from Mystic Esports EU. Joker is getting so aggressive as well, but it is paying off. Nob taking huge damage as well, going to get taken down by Mary. X not really able to find too much value on that right lane either. The Reply Totem are walking all over this point, now going to cross that 50% threshold.
Nice comeback here from Totem, as that start really didn't seem like it was going to go in their favor. Joker very low now and had to back up. Doesn't really want to take flight just yet, and the Silver Starfish going to be missed by Nob there. Doesn't make a connection onto Joker. Mark's going to connect from Maru over the right-hand side, though no bounces just yet onto the turret. But there is a couple of nest eggs down, mid and right-hand side. Maru going to get some shots in, and then stuns there. Nob goes down, and over the right-hand side he falls as well. The B jump comes in from Bonnie, but it's going to do nothing, and Reply Totem move up once more.
Wow, and it just does not look like Mystic Esports can take this one back. What a game by Reply Totem. It looked a lot more even at first, but it seemed like they were trying, being Mystic Esports, were trying to bring down the pace a little bit, but Reply Totem were just unrelenting, especially Joker. Not only was he just getting on and off that point repeatedly to inch up the percentage bit by bit without taking too much damage, but he was able to push forward on this mid lane matchup, which forced X back, and he was trying to be so patient with that high-powered B. It just ended up not paying off because Joker dodged it out altogether. We'll see how this one works out, though, because Reply Totem have gotten an early game lead. Joker does take some major hits here. Mebius doesn't mind going down. Maru's also able to throw down some mines, too. X trying to play around the side here. Maru is able to take down the Honey Molasses, and X immediately after. What a start for Reply Totem. Mystic Esports, once again, they're looking the exact same as they were at the end of the last game.
Yeah, Mystic Esports just not coming out and being the same team as they have been in that knockout set, and in the early hot zone game as well. X having to tank that with his Honey Molasses, getting rid of another gadget. I'm sure Totem will be pretty pleased about that. Marked up now. Should only be 2 flying shots by Joker. Going to be dropping some bombs and landing directly onto Nob. 2 shots and he should go down. But it doesn't really matter. He can play passive. He can slow this gameplay down because Mystic just aren't looking good at all, and they've got an 80% bonus over the top of them.
It is still possible, but it's improbable. Joker is going to try and get things started. Mebius takes huge damage. It was just a necessary sacrifice to keep these guys from pushing up. Another fantastic pinch between Joker and Maru on the left side. Nob gets piled on by 3 enemies all at once. Yeah, the pins are up. SK pin for some reason, and Reply Totem are going to be taking this game, and they take this set in a sweep, bringing the scoreline to 2-1 for the match.
That's the Reply Totem we know, and the Reply Totem that we love. And obviously, you've got to support some other teams as well. Throw out the escape in. Maybe don't support your own organization, support some friends instead. But Mystic Esports are going to be taking a loss in this set as Reply Totem move 2-1 up, and only 1 set away from taking this series and moving themselves up into a 2-0 position. Got to remember, both of these teams are undefeated so far in the first game day. Whoever loses this one is still going to be 1-1, and that's not a bad position whatsoever to be in at this early on in the competition.
No doubt, but also let's look at this from the other side of the perspective, where Mystic Esports are 1 set away from pushing this to a set number 5 if they're able to take this one back. And just after seeing how well knockout went for them, I wouldn't put it past the guys, but for this set, there's just no real discussion to be had about who had the better stats. Reply Totem with more kills, more damage, more healing. They just had a better survivability at mid. They had more of a presence. They had the better shots being lined up, and the kills, I think, really speak for themselves. Even if we look at just the micro plays too, I think that's what won it for Reply Totem, was simply better mechanics. Mystic, they didn't get any kind of out comp here, and the mechanics from Reply Totem, if we just break it down and look at one specific scenario, we saw the B versus Bell matchup on the right side. Bell and B, they don't have the same range. Bell has a slightly shorter range, but she was still hitting more of the shots, and when it came to peeking around the walls and getting that rhythm going, getting those predictions going, Bell hit every single one, and B was struggling to even shoot her shots around that wall.
Yeah, well, bans are here, and Reply Totem have got rid of Penny, Ruffs, and Gus. Mystic Esports getting rid of the Squeak, Janet, and Jean. Otis being a first pick of Reply Totem, regardless of Mystic Esports using Otis in the last one and not really doing too well. Team Totem have a little bit of a different feeling about it on center stage here, and I do as well. I also think this is going to be a very solid pick. If people come aggressive, the stuff on Starfish will shut them down, and you're able to scout the lanes and do good DPS anyway, so pretty solid all-round first pick. But Bow, as a return, always going to be good as well. The mines are pretty dangerous in the gold mouth and also in the grass as well.
And Amber's going to be very dangerous to that grass, probably lighting it up very, very quickly. And all around, just a good lane brawler. It could be sort of more towards mid or more towards that right side. Center stage is one of those maps that effectively has 4 lanes because no one really plays on the outskirts, that extreme left and extreme right parts of the map. It's more about playing down those bushy sides because you get such an advantage by playing in that speed. And if you're not defending your enemy there, there's a strong likelihood that they will push very quickly using their speed gear and go straight up mid. If you're able to eliminate on the enemy side, that can be a huge asset for you and your team. That's exactly what Amber is here for. There's the max on the side of Reply Totem, and well, here's really the counter to Bo and Amber, because if you don't give them time to farm up their supers, then they will never get a super, and they'll never be able to get any value for them. That's really the main reason that you pick these brawlers anyways, because of their supers, and this is just all-out aggression from Reply Totem. Even a Buzz can open this game extremely strongly, and when you're playing this high-octane comp, it might be the closest that you get to mid for free just by spawning in off the beginning of the game or after scoring a goal.
Yeah, and also, you know, with the Buzz, you've got to be cautious against this Surge. I think that's the main thing. Just make sure your matchups are right, but at the end of the day, once this grass goes down, you're not really going to have the best matchups, but a nice little max speed will get you back in mix and, you know, make it a little bit easier to actually play these 1v1 matchups on lane and stuff like that as well. So, you know, the Buzz wouldn't be a pick of mine. It might be jumping straight back into the meta nowadays, but I honestly think there could have been better picks, surely, and even better tanks to have been taken.
And maybe it just came down to Mystic Esports feeling relatively confident about this Surge pick after how well it performed in Gym Grab. It didn't get them a win in the end, but still the performance was there. The performance was convincing. They got to bring it out now, though. Mebius already has that second level. He's going to be 2 shots away from getting his third, too. There's the grapple onto Mebius, actually. No response in time. Joker is going to stay alive. Is maybe going to get taken down by the mines. Doesn't look like it. He was just fast enough to walk right over them, but the bushes are being burned up. Joker has to find some value. He's going to use the gadget actually to look inside of the bushes. Not one that we see a whole lot, but when there are bushes everywhere, movement is less of a concern for you, especially when you're Buzz and you're farming up those supers so fast. Maru looks like he went for a trick shot. Didn't quite get it, but he did manage to put it across that goal line in the end.
He definitely didn't go for a trick shot. Let's not try and excuse this play that he's just made. He missed the goal, and he managed to recover for it, because if he didn't, that would have been quite a comical moment. Totem now 1-0 up in this game, 1 minute 30 on the clock as well. Mori going to be popping this fat splatter and getting some damage down over the left-hand side. Surge still got this jump there, but Joker's coming in. What a synergized play, but they don't manage to get it off anyway. They're going to maintain a little bit of control, but now X coming down the left-hand side, and they might not have the defensive power to defend this. He has respawned in time, though, and Joker should be able to get the damage done.
Wow, no way he was able to get that in. It looked like he baited out that first shot from Joker so he couldn't farm up the super, and it came in just in time. What a pixel-perfect play there. Had to be on the exact frame. He was able to throw that ball through Joker. Wonderfully played by Mystic, but once again, they find themselves in this very precarious position. Ball is going to be passed over to the right side and protected by some mines. Mebius, I guess, doesn't really care that the mines were there to protect it and passes them right outside of the mines. Joker would have been able to walk right over them without any issue anyway. Mara also takes extreme damage. Joker's all sped up. He does have the combo here with the super. Nob needs to make sure that he maintains his defense. No, it's wide open with a takedown. Maru supers it into the goal, and Totem is at match point.
I mean, those kind of openings just can't be left unseen by Mystic, and this might be their inexperience coming in. It might be just a one-off mistake, but we'll never know. I'm sure they'll kind of rectify it in this next one and, you know, be sure to have these kind of defenses, because it happened in the first one as well when Maru missed that trick shot. It was a wide-open play, and Mystic just don't seem to be aware of them.
Well, Mari might also find an opening on this left side. Doesn't look like he was allowed that by Mebius, who's now the one-man army trying to defend everything. He does manage to get a kill. Joker has the help to push this in. There's the pass up and a pass through Nob, and Joker is able to put this one in with just 25 seconds knocked off the game clock so far. Now, we will see Mebius get that second level. He can also hop inside of the bushes for some additional speed. Joker is also looking for some value here. There's the super forward pass as well, almost into the goal. Didn't quite make it there. Maybe he was aiming for the same target as Maru earlier. Nonetheless, Reply Totem are just one goal away from taking this match.
Well, it's either one goal or a defense and 1 minute and 40, but Joker might be able to get this ball out here. He does grab it and he passes the ball out, but it doesn't come back. Speed straight through those mines. Nice play, and he dash to get the ball out. Amber was muted and killed anyway, but nice plays from Reply Totem, and they're covering their back really nicely. 1 minute and 30 or an extra goal, and they'll secure this entire series.
That was extremely punishing there from Reply Totem. They're just not going to quit throwing down the hammer, too. Maru and Joker now lined up around the left side. An initial pass in by Maru to put that ball on the score line, eliminate some of the shots available to the enemies too. It's not going to be super successful as Maru ends up getting taken down. Maru still trying to farm up that super. Not going to be contacting any enemies with those shots actually as he's getting outranged. Joker also getting extremely pinched on the right side, is going to get taken down by Nob. Now Mebius now hopping in from that left side. Maru trying to surround this ball, pass it up, might be successful. Super pass up to Mebius, but Joker has the super. Immediate super on the right side, no value there. Mebius needs to get closer. He's not able to push in, actually, because he couldn't even pass the ball had he made it over there. And Maru is still able to push things forward on the right side. Ball passed in the corner. It's safe and sound in Reply Totem's side with 30 seconds to go.
Surely if it had just walked in and been able to get it in anyway, but Joker's in a 1v3 here. He gets his stun, but Maru now in a 1v3 defense on his own. He gets jumped on and taken down. Not sure they're going to be able to get this here. Mori's just going to try and work for a super, but Nob gets it in anyway. Mystic Esports are not done fighting yet. 1-1 in this game, and Reply Totem, they don't have the best of overtime comps.
Now, let's not forget that this is where Totem is the absolute strongest with their comp, though. They are going to lose one man. No, never mind. Maru stays alive. Joker also stays alive. It's a 3v2, but 2 supers on the side of Mystic Esports EU. They do have a level 3 on top of Mebius as well, and this ball is carefully protected by some mines. Maru does have the silence, though, and he can especially silence Amber. That would be devastating for her. Joker also has a super of his own, but he has to make sure that he hits this perfectly. It could very much be dodged out at such long range. He's going to be baiting enemies in. X trying to stay at long range, also flashing that super just to intimidate some enemies. Miss super, actually, for Joker. It's going to be devastating. Will they be able to recover? It comes down to whether Maru can get a kill here. Joker still staying alive. He is able to pick up the kill in close range. Down goes Nob as well. It's just Mebius to defend everyone with a pass over to the right side. Never mind! Mebius, he's able to block it off. 15 seconds left on the clock, and this could be a tie.
15 seconds in the defense, though. Mebius has his super. Joker's got his as well, though, but they need to be cautious. Speed's there. They might be able to even force this one in themselves. The pass up to Joker's there, but he can't get the shot through. 4 seconds. Can Mebius get the ball? Mori's just going to go for it. He's going to get it out. They're going to play for the draw, and Reply Totem live on as the Mystic, but that should have surely been a Reply Totem game. Then it should have surely been a Mystic game, and at the end of it, it was really, really solid from both. Reply Totem still on match point, though, and Mystic need to carry on fighting.
Extremely close stuff there. I mean, what plays there by Mystic, and an incredible defense there of the super pass as well. I think we could also see the nerves starting to get to Reply Totem, because had they passed to the right side of the goal, it would have been a definite score too. Now getting into game number 2, part 2. Where Mystic Esports EU do find themselves at their own goal. Joker going for some kind of combo. Nope, not going to make it into the goal. Is the ball magnetic today? It seems to be magnetized to the left side of that goal.
maybe they've just stuck a magnet in the ball and stuck a magnet in that one tile that Totem keep on making the mistakes on. But X down this right-hand side might be able to make the move here. Got his super in hand as well. The burn's there, but nobody's there on defense from Totem. Joker's going to have to stun backwards, get there, and cover these tracks for this ball. He's going to have to retreat into the goal. Got his stun, but he's going to accept that they are going to take a defeat in this first instance. They're going to be going back. He's got his super in hand, but we do see a level 2 surge already.
He's going to be making sure that he locks down the lane versus Joker. Joker's going to try and switch over to some other area. Going to be switching over to mid. Now switching over to that right lane versus Amber, where he can upset in close range. Mebius is right on his tail, though, closely following him all the way across the map. Some bush is being broken open as well. Maru getting beamed down at long range. Maru could also feel the heat, too, especially in that back left corner. X also going for some more damage. Ball passed up into an ideal scoring position. No, Joker is able to upset things, but gets taken down before he can pass that ball away. And Mystic Esports EU are just making it their mission to make sure that their back line is pushed as far forward as possible. But Maru and Maru are able to push up so effectively on this left side. The ball now finds its way over to Mystic Esports EU side.
Otis went down, but I believe the mark is still available. Speed's there onto Joker as well. Maru might be able to clean up X here as well. Doesn't really want to use his super on that, but also at the same time, the break is going to be there. The super was there from Mori as well, but did not connect onto Mebius, and they're in a bit of a tough position here. Fat splatter placed down, but Maru baiting out this last mine. 35 seconds on the clock. Burn going to be missed over the left-hand side by X as well. Mori, Joker, and Maru need to push up as they're at a 1-goal deficit.
Mystic Esports have just 25 seconds left that they need to defend. Joker's also going to fall to the fire. Mebius has the speed to slot this one into the corner. He baits out that phase shifter and the ankle breaker to finish things off. Mebius slots it into the goal, and we could head to a set number 5. Mystic Esports are 1 game away.
I mean, regardless of Mystic win this or not, they've more than surprised me today, and I feel like they are a real contender to go into the challenge finals. They take this game and are 1 game away from taking Reply Totem, who are arguably the best team in Europe at the moment, to that set number 5, where they can even go even further and make a bigger upset. Joker's got the gadget popped, and he's taking hefty damage. He does go down. Burns there as well, taking some of the grass along with it. Maru's going to grab the ball and pass it straight back out to Mebius, but Mystic is straight in control instantly again.
Mebius could get a super in here. He's not going to risk it just yet. He needs to defend X versus Joker. Nope, he gets targeted. Still takedown onto Joker. Maru also gets the kill. It could be a follow-up from X. Mari knows that he cannot push forward on this left side by himself. X defending as well as he can. Mari still picks up the kill, and it's even at mid. 150 on the clock. And things have actually pushed up in a huge way towards Mystic Esports' side. With these mines, though, it's going to be slowed down just enough to negate the effects of Mari's super.
Yeah, Joker's got his super as well. Mori's going to get a nice little stun over the right side. I mean a mute, but now jumped on. He's going to miss the super as well, and Maru needs to come up and try and defend, but Joker's here on the defense. Can he make the things happen? Has his super as well, which means Mebius cannot aggress. In comes Maru, gets the kill, but also going to be traded out himself.
Joker on the right side has the super. He can stun. He can pass that ball forward and stun at the same time, but he needs to make sure that he isolates an enemy. Maru will be able to help out with that. Here's the super. There's a gadget popped as well. You can see everyone missed super for Joker as it's dodged out by Nob. Mebius has to keep up the defense, but he's not really sure where the enemies are. And Nob is trying to scout out things as well, but it's not super successful so far. Mari also isolated on that left side. Could be takedowns by Joker. There's one. Now it's a 3v2. Now a 2v1. We got to see Mebius defend. There's enough damage to take him down, but it's still a slot through towards the end. And Reply Totem have the advantage with 45 on the clock.
Great stuff from Joker there, knowing he was going to be able to force that ball through even with going down, but Maru's instantly fired up here. He's on fire. He goes down as well. Joker not got a super in hand, but Mori does. Has this defensive measure. They want the ball straight back in this corner. No more risks for Reply Totem in this game. 30 seconds on the clock, and Mystic are at a bit of a deficit of players at the moment, but quickly evened out by Mebius. However, X is quite far back, and Joker's looking for a stun on him. The jump comes in onto Maru. He goes down. It's a 1v1. Can they get the damage through? Mori's there. He's respawning. The bow mines are placed. He's not going to get the bait on. As a stun comes in from Joker, he gets the takedown, the walk through, but the shot's into the corner and Mebius can't get it. The defense is there from Totem, and so is the game. They take the series. 4 seconds on the clock, and Mystic Esports just fall short of taking out Reply Totem.
That was insane. That was so close to a goal for Mystic Esports, but it just didn't go through at the last moment despite the best efforts. Things came in clutch for Totem there towards the end to secure the victory for themselves. But while it was a convincing Totem game, it was a million times over more convincing for Mystic Esports, because we came into this, maybe you came into this, and a lot of the audience came into this without super high expectations for Mystic Esports EU in this matchup, but look how close it came to a set number 5 and versus Reply Totem of all teams.
I mean, Mystic Esports, they've surprised me. They've proved that they are the team that they are, warming up to be at the moment. That was so close to going in at the end there. Mori just clearing off the line with a slither of HP and not taking that goal loss. So as they probably would have lost the overtime with the Buzz, it's a really tough matchup, especially against that Surge. It's not something you're going to be able to defend off against quite easily. 20,000 more damage plus from Mystic Esports there, and not as many heals either, which is a little bit odd. It means they're clearly going quite aggressive, whereas Reply Totem were staying a bit more passive and playing their lives just that little bit more.
This is also understandable just because of how aggressive Reply Totem were with Joker on this buzz, and he was getting spectacular value, but Mystic Esports at times were extremely ready for that push in. They knew exactly what he was going to go for. He was going to be using his grapple onto Amber and try and find some value from there, and the hard counter in form of Surge worked in a lot of ways. I think more than anything, this set was a Mebius pop-off. This guy was absolutely insane on the Surge, and anyone facing Mystic Esports in the future, and I'm sorry for this Mystic Esports for calling this out, but they got to ban Surge. They're crazy with this brawler.
Yeah, I mean, they really are. They really are. And Mystic Esports have firmly earned my respect in this one as well, because, you know, beforehand, I thought maybe they'd fluked a couple of games. They'd fluked against Queso and won that. They'd fluked against Tribe in the qualifiers and won that as well. But at the end of the day, that's just not the case. Totem come out strong. They take them down. But Mystic had some huge opposition against them, and they really proved themselves today.
They absolutely did, and I can't wait to see what this team accomplishes going forward. But, I mean, the score line also remains. Reply Totem, they're up 2 games in this series so far, and they're very well on their way to locking themselves in for a Masters land. But still, they got 5 match days left. They cannot slack off. They got to keep up their A game as well, because every single team competing here absolutely deserves to be here. They competed on the same playing field as everyone else, and they are absolutely cracked to make it to this challenge stage. So a worthy opponent for every single team that Reply Totem could face up today.
You know, I think it's fair to say that if Mystic beat the teams that they should beat, now they've taken down Team Queso in Panna and Craze, and at the same time, you know, they can make these finals. I think Navi is going to be their biggest foe for that 4th spot, because Tribe Gaming have bounced back today really nicely against Navi. They've taken those down. Reply Totem are 2-0 and SK are 2-0. Those are the 3 titans of the region who you expect to be at the live event at the end of this season. But there's that 4th spot. It's open. You'd expect Navi, Craze, or even Queso to take it coming into the season. But Mystic, there's just a little bit of Mystic in there, I feel now.
I really do think that they could make it into that top 4, right? Because they've been playing so well so far, and they've taken down some key teams in the competition, but still, they need to make that happen in the challenge season. They've taken 1 team down so far, and in order to make that top 4, you got to be above 4 other teams. So they have a lot of necessary victories ahead of them to acquire in the future, and if it's going to be near misses, I'm sorry, but that doesn't count on the scoreboard. Still, though, the performance today versus Totem, it was very convincing of what could be to come.
Well, that was the last game of the day, and for the last time of the day, we will be thanking Snapdragon Elite Gaming for being able to assist us and assist ESL in putting this production on for you guys. If you've enjoyed any of the games today, please join me in thanking them in the comments section as well, because they really are that piece needed to make productions like this happen. The sponsors are always a huge part of this, and especially with the Snapdragon Pro Series being a named sponsor, it clearly just pushes it that little bit further.
And Snapdragon Elite Gaming, like sponsors like these are what bring teams like Mystic Esports to the forefront here for us to all enjoy and watch upset some of the most storied teams in the region, ones that have been seemingly impossible to defeat until lately. And while it wasn't a win for Mystic Esports just now, it was very nearly a set number 5 and really did, I think, bring Totem to their knees in a few regards. So once again, thank you, Snapdragon Elite Gaming, for making things like this possible and for making events like this possible. It really comes down also to you guys, the viewers, for coming in and watching that make these sort of streams a reality.
Yeah, it's always good to see these kind of great gameplay, and you know, with the Snapdragon Pro Series, when we're in the off season between the Brawl Stars Championship and Worlds, it's a great competition to have. It's definitely one of the top tier competitions in Brawl Stars, and it allows us these 8 European teams, and also we've got the other regions running as well, either shortly or very, very soon. You know, it really does allow us to put such great competitions on, and it's really wonderful to see during off season and other times other competitions coming in and taking the reins and making us still be able to watch such great esports. Mystic showing themselves up. We've got you know, Tribe bouncing back today. Totem still looking very strong. SK looking very strong. But just the 2 teams I'm a little bit worried about are Team Queso and Panna, who were part of Team Queso. So maybe that's got a little bit of something to do with it.
Yeah, the Team Queso has kind of like a duplicated here, but unfortunately they're right in the bottom of the scoreboard for the time being. I mean, we're only in 2 matches of 7 because it is round robin. Every other team will play every other team, but what will happen when we see Panna face versus Team Queso in a coming match day, right? That is going to be one story to behold, because I'm sure that there's like a little bit of animosity between the two, because this roster change happened very late on into the year, and this did disrupt a couple of players' chances to go to the Brawl Stars World Finals. So a win in that case for Panna would be just such an upset. What an interesting storyline going into the World Finals, and also preparing us for that top 4 to ascend from this challenge stage of the competition here at SPS.
Well, ready, set. Now that day number 2 has finished, let's take a quick look at the leaderboard to see how things are shaping up for our teams. And obviously 4 teams at the end of this season go towards those challenge finals. That is what teams are striving for. And at the moment, the top 4 are Reply Totem, SK Gaming, the only 2 teams who are 2-2. Tribe Gaming and Craze remaining at 1-1 in the top 4, along with Mystic and Navi, who are 1-1 as well. Panna and Team Queso, both Spanish teams. Oh, both full Spanish teams, should I say, with obviously SK Gaming kind of being a Spanish team. 2 players and a coach remain at the bottom with 0-2. Not the best for them today. Let's take a quick look at the schedule for next Tuesday as well, which I'm sure it'll be absolute banger. Ready, set, talk us through what we're going to be seeing on Tuesday.
Oh man, a grudge match to start us off is going to be absolutely crazy. Mystic Esports versus Tribe Gaming EU. We keep talking about the open qualifiers, but that wasn't during the challenge stage. Now we get to see them face during the challenge stage once again and see, was this maybe just an off day for Tribe, and maybe they were expecting, well, we just need to qualify out of this, and if we go down to Mystic Esports, who cares? But no, we've seen what Mystic Esports is made of, and this is Tribe's chance to strike back. The other matchups going on, though, the second match, in fact, Totem versus Panna is going to be quite interesting. We'll see if Panna are able to bring this back. It's definitely going to be a tough one for them. Navi versus Team Queso, definitely a chance for Team Queso to come back. Navi, they had a bit of a rough run today. Still looked good, though. And finally, SK versus Craze, which Craze, they looked extremely dominant in their game today, but versus SK, really anyone can be made to look like kind of an amateur.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, we're starting off with a grudge match in match day number 1. We're finishing things off in a grudge match with match number 4, because Craze versus SK was that quarterfinals match in the Brawl Stars Championship in the monthly final of October, and SK did manage to win on double match point in a 2-1. So really, really nice stuff from them. It's, you know, it's great to see these kind of grudge matches come back and back and back, and we're seeing so many of them as the teams we have here are just so good. With that being said, though, ready, set, any closing remarks from you now that all 4 games are done and we're ready to end the show?
All I gotta say is, I'm never gonna stop talking about them. Mystic Esports EU, they came out of absolute nowhere and they've absolutely blown us away. It really does go to show that like greatness can come from absolutely anywhere. And if you put in the work, you put in the hours, you can take down some titans in this region. It's really the dream. And Mystic Esports, they could even go to LAN or something like that. It just all comes down to putting in the hours and taking down some crazy teams in this region.
Yeah, it really has been incredible, these first game week of matches. It's been absolutely incredible. I'd like to give a few thank yous out to Snapdragon, to all of the sponsors, to the ESL production team in the background, and of course, ready, set, to you, because I believe you won't be joining us for the next coming week. It's been an absolute blast having you by my side, but today is the day that your European journey through the SPS finishes, and hopefully we will see you back in the near future. But with everything being said, from me, from Ready Set, from everybody in the background, we thank you for watching, and goodbye.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Monster Energy, and DHL.
Won't stop going till a player on top know it. Rooftop, penthouse suite. If you really want it, gotta own it. Fight through it, we was at the lowest. Blood, sweat, tears, the components. Riding all year, now's the moment. We are not afraid, we are opponents. Yeah, I'm coming for mine. Yeah, I'm making a play, the game on the line. Yeah, I've been on the grind. Yeah, I jump in the spot, I made it my time. Yeah, look in the sky. Yeah, the stars align, no shade to shine. Can't stop it already. Emotional work and devotion, we put in this time. Look.